A man wakes up to find that he no longer has breath or a heartbeat. Even his body starts growing patches of mold, but he hasn't died. In fact, he can still live normally like nothing happened. He was a university student working part-time as a guide at a museum. His name is Zongyun. One day while working, a strange phenomenon suddenly appeared in the sky. Soon after, the ground started shaking violently. The walls and ceiling began to shake and continuously fall apart. He struggled to hide beneath an antique coffin made of pure gold. He took out his phone and was about to dial for help, but through the screen, he saw the reflection of the sky outside. It was a bottomless black hole, and the opening was continuously expanding. A giant black claw covered in spiny barbs slowly reached out from the hole. Right below him, countless ruined manipulators are trying to stop it. In the crowd, he saw a familiar figure. It was a girl in combat armor holding a large sword. Upon closer inspection, this person was his dearly beloved younger sister, Zhonglan. But at this moment, she shouldn't be here. She should be at school. Looking at Zhonglan, whose body was covered in wounds from constant attacks by black claws, he frantically made a phone call. At that moment, the golden coffin above him suddenly collapsed. With a loud thud, he fell into a pool of blood. Open his eyes again, Zongyun was lying in a hospital bed. He followed the numerous connecting wires on his body, lifting his head to look at the equipment. Heartbeat and blood oxygen are both 0. He silently cursed, "What a piece of junk, it must be broken." He immediately got up and walked towards the door. Seeing his sister safe and sound, he felt overjoyed. Then he was suddenly startled. Strange. Why has my little sister become so small? She looks like a middle schooler. He looked up at the clock on the wall. The time displayed was from 4 years ago. Could it be that I've been reborn to the past? While in doubt, a middle-aged man beside him suddenly spoke. "You're Zongyuan, right? The doctor said there was a high chance you would suffer brain death. Now not only have you miraculously woken up, but you're also full of energy. That's truly amazing." Zongyuan looked up and scanned the man. This man was the captain who had commanded his sister to fight against the alien race back then. After learning about the situation from his sister, he pulled the man into a corner. "I agreed to Zhonglan joining your academy and being trained as a runing practitioner, but I have one condition. I want to attend Chenjing Academy with my sister." At this moment, Zongyuan had only one thought in his mind. Since fate gave him a second chance at life, he would make sure to protect his sister. No matter what kind of training or missions she would face in the future, he would always be by her side. After being discharged from the hospital, he went home with his sister. But then he noticed something strange about his body. It had been going on for days. He didn't feel hungry or tired at all. He didn't even need to sleep or use the bathroom. And the patches on his body weren't bruises, they were lividity. At the hospital, he thought the equipment was malfunctioning. It wasn't until I got home and tested that I found out I actually had no blood pressure or heartbeat. I didn't even have a body temperature or breath. All signs pointed to me being nothing more than a soul inhabiting a body. The only reasonable explanation was that golden coffin that crushed me possessed some kind of mystical power. It sent my soul back to my body 4 years ago, the one that died in a car accident. Now, as long as he doesn't go to the hospital for a checkup, no one will discover he's dead. During this time, I received another call from Lin Dongliang. He said the school had agreed to let him and his sister register together, but because Zongyuan is an ordinary person, he could only be placed in the special class for gifted individuals as an auditor. The day of school soon arrived. They smoothly arrived at Chenjing Academy. Her genius status had already spread throughout the school. Moreover, she was young and had a sweet appearance, which made her loved by everyone. On the other hand, Zongyuan, being an audit student and having mediocre talent, was constantly excluded by others. They just finished their enrollment this morning. Military training began in the afternoon. At this time, on the school's playground, the freshman instructor Liu Ling spoke. Except for Zhonglan, who was exempted from military training due to her young age, everyone else could go to the military training location after signing the document. However, those who received the document were shocked by the regulations and jumped up on the spot. Military training involves danger, accidents may occur. What does the academy takes no responsibility mean? They all expressed their incomprehension, but the instructor simply said coldly, "If you don't sign, you can go to the student affairs office to withdraw from school now. But I want to remind everyone, there's a chance to obtain Sujing during military training, and I can help you increase the success rate of absorbing Sujing by 20%. Upon hearing this, although the crowd felt resentful, but he still signed his name on the document, his hand trembling slightly. Zongyuan thought to himself at that moment, "I'm already a dead man anyway. These things don't matter. But if I obtain a Xu crystal during military training and successfully absorb it, wouldn't I also become a Xu energy user?" So he quickly and decisively signed his name. After everyone had signed, "You will be transported to the military training location. The instructor will give an introduction to the military training content. This place is called Snake Gate Mountain. Soon, you will enter the realm of Snake Gate Mountain through the portal. The realm is equivalent to a parallel dimension of the real world. It is a place used by Hago to artificially confine foreign races. Your mission is to safely survive for 3 days there. The backpack in front of you contains the supplies you will need. If you encounter danger, you can also use the watch on your wrist to call for help. It can not only locate you, but also repel some lower-level alien species. But be careful, the watch's battery only lasts for 3 days. You activate the repelling sound waves, it will drain the battery faster. Then everyone began to form teams and move forward, Zhang Yuan being an auditor, and with his thin build, no one wanted to team up with him. In the end, he could only enter alone. As soon as he entered the boundary, Zhang Yuan sensed someone watching him from the bushes behind. He sneered. Sure enough, in harsh environments, the most dangerous thing is still people. Then he sped up and left. Seeing this, the bully leader who had been squatting in the grass behind him immediately stood up and followed. He finally managed to shake off one group of pursuers. Zhang Yuan quickly took out the information and checked the situation here. Ningbing frees a certain range of objects for a certain number of seconds, named Frost Snow Serpent. Regeneration, attack motivation normal, but the quality of the Exujing they possess is very high. It also comes with 4 abilities. They are Super Perception, Frost Formation Regeneration, and Death Immunity. It's a typical case of thin skin but rich filling, especially his skills. As long as he successfully absorbs the Void Crystal, there's a chance to gain them. It's simply too tempting. Zhang Yuan immediately decided to find one to study first. He continued to move through the bushes. Soon he came to a frozen ground. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the Frost Serpent's ice-forming skill. Indeed, as he looked up, he saw 2 blue venomous snakes with forked tongues on the branches. After crawling for a while, they coiled around the branches. Zhang Yuan immediately drew his dagger upon seeing this. Just as he was about to approach, they fell from the tree themselves. He immediately raised his dagger, about to strike at the snake. But now that he was right in front of them, the Frost Snow snakes simply remained frozen in place. They showed no intention of attacking at all. This isn't right. Snakes usually launch a swift counterattack when they sense danger. He swiftly raised his knife and decapitated the frostbite serpent. Just as he was about to approach and inspect it, he noticed that the severed area was slowly healing. It turned out that it had triggered death immunity. Zhang Yuan raised his knife again. He struck the snake's body with a total of 99 strikes, only stopping after the 11th. At that moment, a glowing blue orb appeared on the ground. He picked it up and carefully examined it in his hand. Since my sister is a genius, as her sibling, my own talents shouldn't be too bad either. Just as I was thinking this, a system interface suddenly appeared in front of me. Found Frost Snow Serpent Ruins Crystal. Do you wish to absorb it? At this moment, Zhang Yuan's heart trembled. He didn't expect there would be a text prompt. I don't care anymore. I'll just try it and see. Anyway, trying won't kill me. So he chose to absorb it. He was surrounded by a strong blue light. Then everything quickly entered his body. It worked. Zhang Yuan immediately felt that he had gained 4 new abilities, all absorption successful. This luck is just too good. He then tried to use a skill. The ice condensation skill is very useful. It can freeze surrounding objects for 10 seconds. At a critical moment, it could be a matter of life or death. Next up was Super Perception. When activated, all objects within a 10-meter radius turned into thermal images. Then, Regeneration. Although it's a passive skill, he realized that his originally murky eyes had turned back to a normal color. The birthmarks on his body also disappeared, but this death immunity seemed useless to him, because he was already dead. Next, he killed several more snakes. The Exu crystals he obtained were successfully absorbed. At this moment, Zhang Yuan finally realized that he had the ability to fully absorb Su crystals. Meanwhile, in the bushes Zhang Yuan had just passed, Wang Meng and his group were heading toward his position. Suddenly, one of them spoke. Menji, why is this path getting more and more off track? Maybe we should just forget it. But Wang Meng, who was at the front, wasn't concerned at all. That weakling Yuan dares to go alone. What are we 5 afraid of? They were walking. Suddenly, they saw a frost snow snake lying on the ground ahead, its head and body severed. They immediately stepped forward to investigate. One of them said upon seeing this, "Good heavens! Could it be that kid Qian? He actually swallowed a frost snake?" Wang Meng immediately rebutted. That kid must have used the sonic ability of his watch. An ordinary person couldn't be this strong. But then he noticed several more lying on the ground not far away. He wasn't calm anymore at this point. He guessed that Zhang Yuan must have just absorbed the Rujing and became a runer. At this moment, his underling was already somewhat panicked. He spoke up to persuade him to give up, but Wang Meng firmly stated, even if he is a runer, after such a long battle, his physical strength must be almost depleted. Now is the perfect opportunity for them to take advantage. Having said that, he accelerated, pursuing Zhang Yuan. Looking at Zhang Yuan, he was using his foot to forcefully kick a large tree. The frost and snow snakes coiled on the tree fell like leaves. Suddenly, He sensed through his super perception that 5 people were slowly surrounding him. It was Wang Meng's group. He was seen holding a gleaming blade, approaching Zhang Yuan from behind. He said, "Sharp, boy, head over the Exujin." Then, scram. Watching the 5 men approach, Zhang Yuan realized that their formation clearly indicated they were planning a robbery. He immediately came up with an idea. He spread his hands, indicating that he didn't have any void crystals on him. But Wang Meng didn't believe him. He pointed at the snakes all over the ground and roared, "Are you trying to fool a child? There are so many snakes here, and you tell me there's not a single void crystal. And Zhang Yuan, these haven't been harvested yet. The snakes here are only stunned, not dead." But, suddenly he paused, his face darkening. Those human scum left a whole field of otherworldly creatures unkilled. They just had to come and rob a classmate. Maybe they'll even bully my sister in the future. I need to teach them a lesson. Then he took off his backpack. He emptied all the items inside. "See for yourselves. I really don't have any Xujing." Seeing this, Wang Meng didn't know what else to say. The order was that Zhang Yuan could leave after handing over his wristwatch. Zhang Yuan took off his wristwatch upon hearing this. He threw it into the snake pit. He was about to leave, but Wang Meng worried he might fight back desperately. So he demanded that he leave his knife behind as well. Zhang Yuan threw down his knife and strode out. The show has begun. Suddenly the frost snow snake, which just unconscious, woke up. It flicked its tongue and slithered straight toward them from all directions. At this moment, Wang Meng had no idea that danger was approaching. He picked up the watch that Zhang Yuan had thrown on the ground. When he opened it, he discovered that the battery still had 95% charge. He was shocked. It's obvious Zhang Yuan didn't use the watch's sonic function. Could it be that the snakes on the ground aren't all dead? He only realized the danger then, but it was too late. At this moment, the 5 of them were surrounded by a swarm of snakes. Wang Meng shouted, "Run!" The words were barely out of his mouth before he ran quickly ahead. Then a series of miserable screams came from the forest. At this moment, Zhang Yuan, who heard the sounds, merely shook his head lightly. He then continued walking forward. On the way, he ran into 2 other students. One of them wanted to go back and find Wang Meng to retrieve his supplies. He then followed the 2 back to the previous spot. As they approached, they saw Wang Meng's teammate lying on the ground in a sprawled position. Snakes were crawling all over them. Another one was struggling desperately, stumbling and swaying as it made its way toward Zhang Yuan and the others. But after just a few steps, it collapsed to the ground with a thud. The 2 classmates who had just confidently said they were coming to kill the snake were immediately terrified. Without hesitation, they turned and ran. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan simply smiled faintly. Then he bent down to pick up his dagger, and with a swift motion struck down. In a moment, he had slaughtered all the dozens of snakes with ease. Afterward, he held the pile of Exu crystal and absorbed it on the spot. He felt his skill level continuously rise. He felt immensely satisfied inside. To cover up his large-scale absorption of Exu crystals, he disposed of all the snake corpses. He then contacted the instructor using his watch. He asked them to hurry over and deal with the students who were bitten to death by the snakes. A student is calling for help. Should we send rescue? They're not in danger. But they don't know about the surveillance. It's still necessary to go up there and make a show of it. The instructor immediately arrived at the scene. 4 freshmen died in total. 3 of them were bitten to death by frost snow serpents. But the fatal wound of the other one was a knife wound in his back. Based on the scene in the recording, one of them must have fled in a panic when attacked by the snakes, but Captain Wang Meng was dishonorable. He stabbed his teammate to slow down the snakes. Then he ran away. And those few were tracking Zhang Yuan from the start. It's not hard to deduce that Zhang Yuan lured them into the snake pit. Judging by the environment, at least 30 or 40 snakes have been living there for a long time. But why did Zhang Yuan arrive here without being attacked by the snake swarm? Interesting. He actually used methods that even I can't see through. This kid Zhang Yuan is clever and strong. He's ruthless, I like it. As long as he can come back alive, I'll handle the human affairs for him. At this moment, an unexpected guest arrived at the main base. The instructor was shocked when he recognized the person. He immediately said, "Isn't this Feng Yumo, the young master of the Feng family, ranked 68th on the youth ranking? Why is a big shot like you here on a mission? Why hasn't anyone informed us?" Feng Yumo replied, "His mission this time is to rescue a student named Zhang Yuan." He asked the instructor to provide the student's location, but the instructor said the equipment is with the drill instructor. He hasn't returned yet. Feng Yumo didn't waste any more time after hearing this. He headed straight into the depths of the forest. The rumor is that his brother has a terminal illness. He applied to be stationed near Snake Gate Mountain in search of the Frost Snow Serpent Ruins crystal, which could grant a death exemption. And this person also has a small issue. He suffers from severe face blindness. Aside from, it's impossible to tell who's who once they turn away. At this moment, Feng Yumo arrives deep in the forest. He looks at the broken snake corpses scattered on the ground. He mutters to himself, "What kind of messy swordsmanship is this? Did a newcomer do this?" At the same time, He also spotted Zhang Yuan nearby, struggling to wield a cleaver. Upon seeing the battered and ruined state of the blade, he was instantly shocked and terrified. The knives given to new students at Qinjing Academy are all top-quality weapons from Duzoju. Yet he's managed to damage it like this. He then went behind Zhang Yuan. "Your knife is crying. Don't you hear it? That's not how you use a knife." Startled by the sudden gust of wind and rain, Zhang Yuan turned around with a dark expression on his face. "Who are you? What are you here for? Where did you learn such a cheesy line? What does me not knowing how to use a knife have to do with you? Is this some new style showdown?" He then stood up and walked over to Feng Yumo. He reached out and said, "The academy only gave me one knife, and it's unusable now. Could you lend me one?" Wind and Ink pondered. What's wrong with this person? He's completely unpredictable. Shouldn't a normal person be ashamed and embarrassed and leave immediately? But on second thought, I shouldn't argue with a student. He immediately pulled out a dagger from his bag and threw it to Zhang Yuan. "Here you can go now. By the way, you can keep the Ipsu crystals that have already been exposed. The rest of the snakes belong to me." Zhang Yuan's face instantly changed upon hearing this. "All right, you, dressed up like a model. Are you here to steal business from the new students in military training?" But Feng Yumo coldly said, "This is not your turf. There's no such thing as who came first. As for who owns these frost snow snakes, strength decides." At this moment, Zhang Yuan is already gathering strength in his hand. A person from the observation square rushed over to fight with the new student for the monster. There must be some shady under-the-table dealings behind this. He immediately uses ice condensation to freeze Feng Yumo. Then he raises his fist as big as a sandbag. Without hesitation, he gives Feng Yumo a good beating. But due to the disparity in strength, his hand bones were almost shattered from the beating. Feng Yumo only swayed slightly. Zhang Yuan knew when to stop. After picking up the Exujing from the ground, he was about to leave. Before leaving, he also conveniently borrowed his spear. He justified it as borrowing it for a while. Then he vanished, leaving Feng Yumo alone, drifting in the wind, lonely and desolate. Soon after, Feng Yumo, beaten black and blue, returned to the military camp shivering. Seeing his battered face, Feng King burst into laughter, a sound like a pig squealing. If it weren't for his uniform, he almost wouldn't have recognized him. He immediately activated Suri, restoring Feng Yumo's state to 24 hours prior. Then, through deduction based on the description, he inferred that the person who attacked him was Zhang Yuan, the target of his mission. He just didn't recognize him because of his prosopagnosia. So Feng King came closer to him and offered advice. "Anyway, your goal for this trip isn't to make a profit. You can start like this, then do it this way, and finally do it like this." Meanwhile, in the forest on the mountain, the vicious tyrant Wang Meng was striding forward with heavy steps, muttering curses under my breath. For 2 whole days and nights, all I encountered were dead snakes. And I even got lost in the mountains. Am I cursed or something? Misfortunes never come singly. He had just reached a crossroads, only to find a sign clearly stating road under repair. No entry. He could only continue searching for other passages like a wolf or a fox. Now let's look at Zhang Yuan. He was checking the map and looking around. It's strange though. Every frost snow serpent in his path was without exception killed. He was visibly shocked and said, "Who could this heartless person be, who has killed all the serpents in this area?" Then he climbed up a tree and looked at another mountain peak. He thought to himself, that mountain isn't on the map the school gave. Perhaps there's something we missed. Maybe I should try my luck. Before long he arrived at another mountain. He worked hard, frantically hunting. He looked at the handful of scattered crystals in his hand. He muttered to himself. After running so far, he finally found a few frost serpents. He immediately began absorbing them. At this moment, his super perception had reached blue level 4. He could sense any movement within a 1-kilometer radius. Meanwhile, his ice formation had reached blue level 6. The freezing duration was directly increased to 2 minutes. If there is enough mental energy, it can be used multiple times. Freezing for several hours continuously is no problem at level 4. While happy, I also feel a bit confused, because there is no day or night in this space. And since I'm already dead, I don't feel hunger or fatigue at all. So time has become completely disoriented. However, I guess it should be almost time to gather. So he turned around and walked back. At that moment, a wriggling sound suddenly came from behind. Unlike the snakes he had encountered before, the sound seemed much duller. Zhang Yuan abruptly turned his head. He found it was a gigantic frost snow serpent, at least 10 meters long. Their eyes met. The air suddenly became eerily quiet. All that could be seen were the giant snake's red eyes gleaming. With the speed of lightning, it lunged straight at Zhang Yuan. Its speed was as fast as a bolt of lightning. Zhang Yuan quickly dodged to the side. Although he avoided the giant snake's mouth, his thick body still grazed his shoulder. Seeing this, he quickly activated his regeneration ability. After the wound healed, he immediately took a combat stance. If it were the old him, he definitely wouldn't have hit at this speed. He wasn't sure if the upgraded ice would work on it. Before Zhang Yuan could catch his breath, the giant serpent opened its mouth wide and attacked again. He immediately cast Ningbing. The giant serpent was instantly frozen in midair by a thick layer of ice. It only took a few seconds to break through the ice layer. Although it was effective, the effect was short-lived. It needs to be done several more times. Immediately, Zhang Yuan began to spin and jump, performing the 7-7 49 times of ice condensation. Then he raised his spear high. He thrust it straight towards the serpent's body. To his surprise, the ice layer was pierced. Another series of fierce tiger-like moves followed. The snake's body was covered with countless spikes. When Zhang Yuan's mental energy was exhausted, the giant snake finally collapsed to the ground. But immediately he felt something was wrong. Although the snake's head had been smashed to pieces, no void crystal had burst out. This meant the giant snake was not dead yet. It must have triggered a death exemption. There is still half an hour until the official assembly time. Many students have already returned to the base. Wang Menglin crawled out from the bushes. He looked at the base and exclaimed, "Finally found the way." However, Feng Yumo, standing not far from him, pointed at him and told the instructor and coach, "I've safely escorted Zhang Yuan down the mountain. The rest is up to you." As soon as these words were spoken, Instructor Feng Qing quickly explained, "Oh no. Young Master Feng, are you having another episode of face blindness? The person you're escorting is not Zhang Yuan." But Feng Yumo stroked his chin, looking at him with a skeptical gaze. "Isn't this the location you gave me? Could there be a mistake?" Feng Qing walked up to Wang Ming with a mischievous smile on his face. The positioning is indeed Zhang Yuan's positioning, but as for why Zhang Yuan's watch is on this student? Wang Ming, I'll give you a chance to explain. Zhang Yuan, who is dead and revived. Although he no longer has breath or a heartbeat, he unexpectedly gained the ability to successfully absorb Xu Jing 100% of the time during the freshman military training. He not only wiped out the frost snow serpents in the training ground, but also absorbed all their void crystals. He even chopped the frost snow serpent king into 108 pieces. In the end, he successfully absorbed the super void crystal dropped by the serpent king. He obtained the disaster level skill Ice Blood Explosion. He stumbled back to the camp. From a distance, he could already hear Feng Qing and Feng Yumo swearing loudly. 7 hours. I've lived this long. No one has ever made me wait this long, especially a guy. Even if I'm exhausted, I'll make him die 100 times first. Approaching, Zhang Yuan questioned doubtfully if he had returned too early. Why aren't any other classmates here? Feng Yumo was furious when he saw his precious weapon being ruined by him. His veins bulged with rage. He immediately summoned his shadow servant to trap Zhang Yuan. Without saying a word, he stepped forward and landed a heavy punch. Zhang Yuan was sent flying for several meters before breaking free from the shadow servant's control. He activated his regeneration ability to heal his wounds. Before they could react, he used his super perception to quickly shoot at both of them, but they successfully dodged it. Don't you have a younger sister? After you die, we'll make sure to love her for you. Hee hee. This really touched Zhang Yuan's sore spot. You see, his only belief after being reincarnated was to protect his sister. Immediately, he unleashed the Snake King's catastrophe-level skill, Ice Blood Explosion. A terrifying pressure was released in an instant. Your ability Super Perception has been upgraded. You've gained a new ability, Heat Explosion Pressure. Your ability Freezing has been upgraded. You've gained a new ability, Eternal Ice Domain. Your ability Regeneration has been upgraded. You've gained a new ability, Immortal Body. As a constant sound of notifications rang in his ears, Zhang Yuan didn't have time to think, because the duration of Ice Blood Burst is only 30 seconds. They must seize the time and quickly end the battle. He immediately activated Eternal Ice Domain. As the skill was unleashed, Feng Qing sensed that the situation was bad, and hurriedly used the full set of life-saving skills, Life Sharing, Regrowth, and Reversal of the Sun. But Feng Yumo wasn't so lucky. He was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture. What kind of hellish skill is this? If it weren't for Feng Yumo having a tough body, we would have been killed in one hit. We'd have been instantly frozen. Feng Qing kept using the sunset skill to melt the ice on both of them. But because the temperature was too low, even after they recovered, within a few seconds they were frozen again. At this moment, Zhang Yuan, due to the excessive consumption of his abilities, his mental energy was completely drained. He probably couldn't hold on much longer. He immediately pulled out his gun and aimed at the two. He was about to pull the trigger, but in an instant he was frozen by his own ability. His face was filled with confusion. He helplessly dropped his hands. It seems that my luck has truly run out. With a thud, he collapsed to the ground. After being freed from the frozen state, Feng Qing and Feng Yumo helped him up and walked to his side. His mind was still unable to comprehend the technique that Zhang Yuan had just used. Amplification abilities can only increase up to 448%. Anything beyond that is a deathly ability, but his move just now clearly far exceeded that value. Immediately, Feng Qing used Tracing the Sun on him. Afterwards, he collapsed powerlessly to the ground. Feng Yumo, grumbling and cursing, carried both of them back to the hospital. In the war, The doctor looked at the flatline egg and stated, Zhang Yuan is gone. Heartbeat and blood pressure are gone, and because of life sharing, it dragged down 2 healing-type ruin users. Send him straight to the morgue. At this time, Feng Qing, wearing a patient gown, quickly stopped them. You bunch of incompetent doctors. It's obvious he's faking death. Don't treat him if you don't understand. All of you get out. After driving all the doctors away, Feng Yumo asked Feng Qing with a look of doubt. Are you sure he's faking his death? Look, there are even skin lesions on his body. Upon hearing this, Feng Qing immediately activated his technique on Zhang Yuan to eliminate the skin lesion. Then, with a serious expression, he looked at the unconscious Zhang Yuan on the bed, deep in thought. The next day, on the youth rankings of the mystics, the number of Feng Yumo increased from 68 to 69. His original ranking was replaced by someone called Xuanming. Isn't that alias a little too edgy? Such an awful name. You can explain it to him later. But Feng Qing said, You yourself said he defeated you twice. You insisted on reporting his name. He was afraid using his real name would cause trouble for him. Just then, a sound came from the hospital bed. You guys are so noisy. Shut up. Zhang Yuan immediately sat up after waking up, his face cautiously staring at the 2 people in front of him. At this moment, the phone rang. It was a message from my younger sister. After reading the message, he realized that he had already been lying in the hospital for 2 days, but the hospital surprisingly hadn't sent him to the crematorium. He guessed that maybe the 2 of them had helped conceal it. Hello, classmate Zhang Yuan. This is Feng Qing, president of the 3rd-year student council of Chenjing's special class. I previously wrongfully accused you on purpose. It was wrong of me to provoke you into fighting. I'm truly... I suppose we're only acquainted because of the fight. On behalf of the student council, I sincerely invite you to join. Zhang Yuan's expression darkened at the words. Then without warning, he threw a heavy punch at Feng Qing's face. Watching Feng Qing touch his painfully swollen cheek, he slowly reached out his hand. Yes, it's a case of the more you fight, the closer you become. In the school office, Lin Dongling placed the crimson crystal on the table and comforted Zhong Lan, who looked nervous. Relax. Even if the absorption fails, it doesn't matter. And sitting opposite them was the instructor invited to assist Zhong Lan in absorbing the Xu crystal. Zhong Lan picked up the crystal and held it in her hand, carefully feeling the energy contained within. The instructor immediately activated a skill to assist. The crimson crystal instantly emitted a dazzling light. Zhong Lan, tightly gripping the crystal, now had a pained expression. I know everyone places great importance on my talent. I absolutely cannot disappoint them. I must become stronger. Only then can I better protect my brother. A voice echoed in my mind. Firecloud B. King's crystal discovered. Absorb it costed 20 years of lifespan. On campus. Xiaozi affectionately patted his sister's head. He asked if the instructor had arranged any special studies for her during this time. Zhang Lin replied, The school didn't make any arrangements, but Lin Zhidong gave her a Queen Bee crystal to absorb. She proudly stated that she was now a powerful Xun energy user. From now on, it would be her turn to protect her brother. At this moment, Zhang Yuan had a solemn expression on his face. His sister ultimately couldn't escape the fate of becoming a Xu Nengji. All he do was to keep growing stronger, to always be by his sister's side guarding her. In an effort to show her brother the abilities she had absorbed, Zhong Lan jumped up and broke the school's statue with a kick. Zhang Yuan was instantly embarrassed. Lanlin getting stronger, of course I'm happy, but damaging public property means you have to pay for it. Soon they were brought to the instructor's office, but the usually strict instructor only helplessly rubbed his temples. You kicked very well, but don't do it again next time. Zhang Yuan was confused. When did she become so tolerant? She didn't even ask for compensation. The instructor later praised Zhang Yuan for his excellent performance in this new student military training, and asked if he wanted to try absorbing Su Jing. She could help activate it. It was then that Zhang Yuan realized, had Feng Qing and the others not told the instructor that he had already become a Xu Neng user. He then replied that he probably wouldn't need the instructor's help to activate it. These words immediately caused the instructor to feel awkward. This child, even if she wasn't interested in ruin power users, she didn't need to be so blunt, did she? Don't I have any face? But suddenly, she realized something was wrong. Zhang Yuan was wearing the student council uniform. The reason why student council president Feng Qing is overseeing the military training this time is to find a new successor for the president. Could it be that Zhang Yuan has been chosen by him? At this moment, Feng Yumo is weakly lying on the ground, helplessly crying out, I can't anymore. This kid has been knocked down by us thousands of times. I don't feel the slightest bit of fatigue. How is anyone supposed to handle this? Feng Qing, hurry up and use the sun reversal to save my life. Feng Qing, who was also lying on the ground, responded, What sun reversal? Cry is not here. Call if it's urgent. No wonder the influential figures from these two schools ended up in such a miserable situation. After more than 10 hours of training, I realized that a normal person could master cold weapons in just 10 minutes. Zhang Yuan spent over 10 hours and still couldn't get the hang of it. I can't say he has no talent at all. He might as well give up on using cold weapons entirely. At this moment, Zhang Yuan came down from upstairs, carrying several cans of cold drinks. Feng Qing had one can after another. Finally, I've managed to stay alive. Since I'm alive, let's continue training, shall we, both of you? Hearing this, Feng Qing spread his hands and lay back down on the ground. They've been training for more than 10 hours straight. They only had 3 minutes of rest. Are you a demon sent by the Dao Miao sect? Seeing this, Zhang Yuan could only compromise. He agreed to give them a little more time for a drink of happiness. Afterwards, he casually tossed the empty can towards a trash bin more than 10 meters behind him, and he actually made the shot without missing. Feng Qing and Feng Yumo were both stunned when they saw this. No way. Could this guy be the reincarnation of Kobe? He made the shot from over 10 meters away. After saying that, he quickly walked over to Zhang Yuan's side and asked him to try throwing 2 at once. Although Zhang Yuan didn't understand what their goal was, he still did as instructed. The 2 cans were, as expected, thrown into the trash bin. Seeing this, Feng Yumo was overjoyed. Zhang Yuan? Hidden weapons are the perfect weapon for you? But Zhang Yuan looked confused. Could it be that hidden weapons are cooler than a 40-meter broadsword? The wind and rain speak volumes. If you insist on using melee weapons, you could try the Ghost King's Ruin Crystal. It possesses 3 abilities: Fearless Fury, Rampage Strike, and Poison Eater. Among them, Rampage Strike significantly enhances melee combat capabilities, and it's not limited to any specific weapon type. If you activate Fearless and Rampage Strike simultaneously, your combat power will increase tenfold. Enter Berserk mode. So where can I get the Ghost Gorge Crushing Crystal? Fenjimo confidently patted his chest and said, although I couldn't teach you how to use weapons, as compensation, I'll help you solve the Ghost Gorge Crushing Crystal issue. With that, he walked straight toward the door. As he waved goodbye, he didn't forget to remind Zhang Yuan, just wait here. I'll mail you the Ghost Trench Ruin Crystals later. The next day, the delivery man delivered a heavy box. Zhang Yuan opened it and found it was filled to the brim with yellow ruin crystals. On top of the crystals was a letter. He thought it was a note written by Feng Yumo. He immediately opened it to check. Moline, ever since you left without saying goodbye that day, I haven't been able to sleep or eat properly, omitting 500 words here. Zhang Yuan couldn't help but sigh. Su Jing added a love letter. This guy Feng Yumo has definitely latched onto a rich woman. He then began to pick up the crystals from the box and absorb them. Fearless, breaking free from all mental control. Furious Strike, immediately enhancing combat skills. Toxin Eater, immune all toxins. The higher the concentration of toxins in the body, the stronger the ability. The maximum increase will not exceed 148% attack power. After absorbing the Xujing, he couldn't wait to pick up the large knife beside him and unleash a furious strike. Instantly, he seemed like a different person. With a set of swordsmanship, he moved like flowing water. Then he understood. This is how you should use a sword. Meanwhile, in the student union meeting room, Leibo, the publicity commissioner, was banging the table and protesting loudly. Zhang Yuan, an auditor who wasn't even a full-time student, was not only going to be admitted to the student union, but they even wanted him to be the discipline commissioner. Since its founding, the Ying College had never had such a precedent. It was simply ridiculous. Meanwhile, Feng Qing, sitting in the host's seat, remained expressionless. Seeing this, the people around him chimed in one after another. The disciplinary committee member must be strong, formidable, and of outstanding character. He must also shoulder the responsibilities of the president. It's not a position just anyone can fill. Letting Zhang Yuan join the student council is fine, but he can only be in Ran Boy. Giving him such an important role as disciplinary committee member is out of the question. I don't accept this. After class, in the Tyria, Zhang Yuan was constantly serving food to his younger sister. Feng Qing, holding a meal tray, walked over from a distance. After placing the tray on the table, he said, "Oh, so this is your sister, huh? You're just too cute." Zhang Yuan's face turned serious upon hearing this. 3 years at a minimum, no upper limit. Feng Qing immediately tried to defend himself. Don't get so worked up. Even if I had such thoughts, at least I would wait until your sister is of legal age to bring it up. Oh, Zhang Yuan snapped his chopsticks in two. Say that again if you dare. Feeling Zhang Yuan's murderous glare, Feng Qing quickly changed the subject. You're such a siskin. Seriously, are you two really siblings? Zhang Lan immediately smoothed things over. Of course we are. So sweet I can't even. But Feng Qing, this old pervert, wasn't listening. Instead, mine was on a comic called The Void of Yuan. He even blurted out the name. Zhang Yuan, seeing this, immediately gave him a hard slap. The younger sister, on the other hand, looked at him curiously and asked, "What's the Void of Yuan?" Zhang Yuan quickly stopped her. "Good baby, don't ask." Seeing that Feng Qing's sunglasses were shattered by his brother, Zhang Lan kindly told him that the glass shards could easily hurt his eyes. Take them off quickly. But Feng Qing said that his eyes were a little different, and he was afraid of scaring the little friend, so he wore sunglasses all the time. But since you're so cute, I'll let you see today. Saying that, he took off his sunglasses. His eyes were emitting purple light. Zhonglan exclaimed, so cool. Someone's eyes actually glow. It turned out that when his mother was 3 months pregnant with him, she absorbed the power of the Xu Jing. But his mother didn't absorb it. Instead, he absorbed it in the womb. So Feng Qing was born with ruin abilities. His body is also stronger and more robust than ordinary people. Zhang Yuan didn't say anything, but he thought about what the teacher had said in class. Pregnant women are strictly forbidden from absorbing ruin crystals. He guessed that Feng Qing must have many unknown secrets. Right, Zhang Yuan? You're the student council's discipline committee member now. You need to find time to patrol the campus at noon. Although the school is usually peaceful, there are always a few minor conflicts. Also, recently things have been a bit unsettled in the student council. Anyway, you handle it however you want. As long as no one dies, I'll cover for you. Zhong Lan, who overheard, was excited to hear there might be a fight. She couldn't hide her excitement on her face. Zhang Yuan quickly stopped her and explained that she had just advanced to high school and still had many subjects to catch up on. She couldn't just wander around with her brother. It was noon after all. Zhang Yuan was wandering aimlessly on campus, and to be honest, he actually looked pretty handsome when he was serious. He charmed the little fangirls along the way. Using his perception skills, he realized that someone had been secretly following him from behind. He then led the person to a small grove, behind the pillar 25 meters away at the 3 o'clock position. Come out. It turned out to be Leibo, the publicity officer of the student union. I didn't expect that Zhang Yuan could detect it from such a distance. Seems you have some skills. Take off your clothes. Then kneel on the ground and bark like a dog, and I'll consider letting you go. He unconcernedly walked out from behind the pillar. Zhang Yuan simply responded indifferently. So this is the school spirit of Chenjing Academy. It seems we should increase patrols. Then he walked straight towards Leibo. Leibo thought he was coming over to bark like a dog according to his request. He was eagerly waiting. But the next second Yuan said, "Is your brain messed up? I meant, it's your turn to take off your clothes and bark like a dog. I might let you off the hook then." Upon hearing this, Leibo, enraged and embarrassed, raised his fist as big as a sandbag and charged at Zhang Yuan. He also activated his unique skill, the Tongxia sound wave. Zhang Yuan, seeing this, activated the fearless release. Then he gave him a heavy blow with a big bag. Next he went up and used a set of calisthenics, turning Leibo's head into a pig's. Leibo never expected it. Slap? In the school, besides those few big shots, there was actually someone who could counter his Tongxia sound wave. The nearby lackeys were also so scared they broke into a cold sweat. After that, he hummed a little tune and left contentedly. At this moment, Leibo felt like dying. This was simply adding insult to injury. In the infirmary, Leibo was vehemently complaining to Feng Qing about Zhang Yuanbao's evil deeds. But Feng Qing only wanted to find out whether Zhang Yuan had absorbed all 3 skills of the Ghost How Ruins crystal. But according to Leibo's description, he didn't use any weapons at that time. It's also impossible to determine whether he successfully absorbed the Furious Strike skill. Then he turned and left. Feng Qing came to Zhang Yuan's dormitory. He opened the Young Market Energy User Strength ranking for him to see, and told him that the person ranked 68th Xuanming was Zhang Yuan. Xuanming. The name is so cheesy. It's better to just call him Zonger. Feng Qing quickly explained. No puns allowed. This name was thought up with great effort by him and Feng Yumo. It has the momentum to shock the heavens and make ghosts weep. But Zhang Yuan wasn't impressed. He asked what use there was in being on this list. Feng Qing explained. It's useless. First place in cup stack. Zhang Yuan was instantly speechless. He was just about to throw him out. Feng Qing quickly said that he brought weapons along, because it had been a long time since they last sparred. He really wanted to be beaten by Zhang Yuan now. It's the first time in my life I've heard someone want to be beaten. Zhang Yuan immediately agreed. Shortly after, in the training ground downstairs, Feng Qing was beaten to a pulp, but he lay on the ground smiling foolishly. He muttered to himself, "I succeeded. This guy actually successfully absorbed the Furious Strike." Zhang Yuan, seeing this, helplessly said that the mental health department of the city hospital is very good. I suggest you go take a look. But Feng Qing still spoke without listening. Our Yuan has finally achieved something. He has learned to use cold weapons. Baba feels proud of you. He was immediately kicked out of the door. Zhang Yuan, in place of his good brother, braved the wind and rain to the fisherman's dock to meet the campus beauty. A helicopter suddenly appeared overhead. Then an attractive girl threw down a rope ladder for him to climb up. Unexpectedly, as soon as Zhang Yuan stepped into the cabin, the girl threw herself into his arms. This completely baffled him. "Hello, classmate," she said, but immediately realized her mistake. She quickly pushed him away. Only then did she see clearly. This classmate in front of me, with a completely bewildered look on his face. I don't even recognize him. I instantly broke down. He didn't come after all. I offered my heart to the bright moon, but alas, the bright moon shines on the ditch. Zhang Yuan quickly explained, saying his name was Xuan Ming, and that he was a friend of Feng Yumu. She sent those Su crystals directly to the school for him, but the love letter in the package was not seen by Feng Yumu, so he had to come in person to thank her. The girl thought for a moment upon hearing this, since someone who could make Feng Yumu so proud would lower their pride to ask her for Xu Jing. This person in front of her must also be a very powerful Xu ability user. She then asked about Zhang Yuan's strength. Zhang Yuan replied that his strength should be considered decent, just the kind that can't die. Hearing this, the girl directly ordered the captain to fly the plane to Shenongjia at maximum speed. Zhang Yuan was completely dumbfounded. Only after an explanation did he learn that they were a team of Shu energy users called the War God Squad. Their purpose in coming was to ask Feng Yumo to join them and go to Shenongjia to deal with poachers who had illegally crossed over from the United States. As soon as they arrived at the border, Zhang Yuan used his super senses to detect a wolf pack 900 meters away. They soon followed the trail and arrived near the wolf pack. They saw a group of wolves circling around a campfire, waiting for an opportunity. Zhang Yuan was about to approach for a closer look. The beautiful captain quickly stopped him. It's obviously a trap. It might even be poisoned. If you recklessly approach, you'll fall right into their trap. But Zhang Yuan didn't take it seriously. I'm not afraid of poison. Wait for the right moment, then go in. He then stood up and walked straight toward the wolf pack. However, the wolves did not attack when they noticed him. Instead, they howled to the sky. It seems the enemy must be nearby. Zhang Yuan used his super perception again. Sure enough, they were a few hundred meters away. Two figures are rapidly approaching him. In that case, let's clear the field first. He instantly drew a short dagger from his waist and launched an attack on the pack of wolves. In just 25 seconds, he slaughtered more than a dozen wolves. The team members hiding nearby were all startled by the sight. He's too strong. But it looks like the enemy will arrive soon. Be ready to provide support at any time. He hasn't finished speaking yet. We only heard two sushing sounds. Zhuanjing used his Xiao Fei Dao Smalley flying dagger to accurately kill the approaching enemy with a headshot. The three people in the grass were stunned again. Did you see how he made his move? Don't say anything. I didn't even notice the enemy approaching before the kid took them out. They immediately walked up to Zhang Yuan's side. Seeing the throwing knife in his hand, they were filled with confusion. Such an obscure weapon. It's not even on the weapon procurement list for practitioners. Could it be custom made just for him? This person is definitely not ordinary. While they were thinking, a few figures suddenly approached from not far away. Look at their outfits, the hairstyle and skin tone. Anyone can tell they are from the Lighthouse Nation. I'm sure Hogo would send powerful practitioners to intercept them. The leader with yellow hair is strutting confidently toward them. After saying that, he lecherously walks up to the campus beauty. I'm honored to see you again today. Beautiful Miss Nkage. The campus belle looked at the yellow-haired person speaking Mandarin with disgust. You're the one who's trash. Your whole family is trash? At this moment, someone in the group pointed at one of the poachers and shouted, Zhuzhing, you traitor! How could you associate with poachers? The Hua country spent so much effort training you. In the end, I ended up raising a treacherous wolf. But that man Zhou Jing didn't think it was a big deal. You guys joking? Just because I refused to hand over the Xu Jing, you subjected me to all kinds of ruthless suppression. You even deprived me of my resources and achievements. If it weren't for joining the Lighthouse Nation, I wouldn't have known that Su Nengers can live so freely. But before he could finish speaking, he was struck on the forehead by a swiftly thrown dagger, dying instantly. The black man beside him quickly used his skills to intercept the dagger aimed at him mid-air. Zhang Yuan was shocked. He hadn't expected that these people could intercept his attack. He estimated their strength to be far higher than he'd anticipated. At this moment, the man with yellow hair picked up the thrown knife from the ground. He expressed with disdain, the knife is a good knife, but the one who uses the knife is not a good person. Attacking by surprise, Zhang Yuan's eyes became resolute upon hearing this. Whoever offends my whole country must be punished no matter how far away. Anyone who judges my whole nation is bound to die without a doubt. The support in the team senses the imminent outbreak of battle. Immediately they cast a buff to enhance us. After feeling the blessing, Zhang Yuan gave him an approving glance from the side. Then while activating the freezing skill, he threw his throwing knife once again. The three lighthouse guards were caught off guard by his sudden control and execution. Two of them even died on the spot. Now only the leader, the blonde man, remains. This person not only broke free from Zhang Yuan's ice binding, but he was also able to knock away the flying knives Zhang Yuan shot at him. His strength is not to be underestimated. Taking advantage of Zhang Yuan's momentary distraction, The blonde man struck with the speed of a lightning bolt, delivering a straight punch to Zhang Yuan's abdomen. The sudden blow sent Zhang Yuan flying several meters. The team members hurried over to help him up. They were about to cast a healing spell on him. But to their surprise, after a sigh, they found that Zhang Yuan had already lost his breath and heartbeat. Seems he's already gone. The muscle man from the team quickly darted behind the blonde man and locked him in a firm hold. Then his teammates launched an attack on him. But who could have expected that the blonde-haired man would directly use his unique skill from the lighthouse country to transform into a fiery giant? Flames instantly erupted around him. Even the weapons attacking him were instantly melted. The female captain saw this and gave instruction. Since physical attacks won't work, we'll switch to magical attacks. With that, she activated mental resonance. Enemies within a 500-meter radius instantly fell into a state of confusion. At this moment, the fire giant clutched its head in agony. Seeing them about to attack, it instantly underwent a second transformation. The surrounding flames became even more ferocious. Everyone hurriedly shielded themselves. At this time, Zhang Yuan, who had been lying down just moments ago, called out, urging them to retreat immediately. Handle it yourself. Everyone looked confused upon hearing this. Wasn't it already completely cold just now? How did it suddenly come back to life? Zhang Yu then said, I already said before, he won't die. After saying that, he walked straight toward the fireman. The teammates still tried to stop him, but to their surprise, he immediately shouted angrily. He said they would only slow him down from drawing his sword. He told them to get as far away as possible. Seeing this, everyone could only quickly flee in the opposite direction. Once the teammates had moved far away, Zhang Yuan immediately gathered all his energy to activate Ice Blood. The flame giant, seeing this, was also full of excitement. Is this really your true strength? Very well, make your move. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yuan simply said calmly, I've already made my move. The giant was instantly frozen solid by a thick layer of ice and snow, reverting to its original form. It turned out that at the same time as launching the Ice Blood burst, Zhang Yuan had activated the Heat Blast pressure skill, directly extracting the temperature from the air, using air pressure difference to make air flow, directly sucking the air around the giant into a vacuum state. In this way, without air to fuel the fire, the giant's flames naturally couldn't burn, and he never imagined until his death that he was instantly defeated by a seemingly ordinary high school student with one move. Severing its throat, its body instantly transformed into a fiery red crystal. Zhang Yuan stepped forward, picked it up, and examined it closely. Sure enough, void weavers also produce crystals after death. But the Academy concealed this secret to prevent void weavers from killing each other. If I take this Su crystal back or hand it in now, it will certainly cause trouble. I might as well get rid of it once and for all. He then dug a hole nearby and buried the Exu crystal. Only then he noticed 2 bags left behind by the poachers, which were filled to the brim with Momo Bear crystals. Momo Bear crystals possess a cuteness skill, which upon acquisition enhances one's personal charm and reduces the hostility of the target. Zhang Yuan thought, so many crystals, maybe after the upgrade it'll become an overpowered skill. I immediately decided to absorb them all. You gain the skill Cuteness Overload. Cuteness ability increased. You gain a new ability Super Cuteness Overload. Permanently increases your charm. After use, it will cause the target to lose hostility. Unlimited range. I'd expect this ability to be so useless. I involuntarily blurted out the name of a plant. Meanwhile, the team members observing from a distance saw the fire extinguish and hurried over to check. They saw Zhang Yuan sitting beside them unharmed, watching the scenery. The beautiful team captain was overjoyed and ran towards him with a happy gait, but didn't notice the stone beneath his feet and tripped, falling flat on his face. Zhang Yuan turned around and asked if the task was already finished and whether he could be taken back to school as soon as possible. If his sister doesn't see him, she'll definitely be upset. Zhang Yuan and his group had just gotten off the helicopter. The principal approached from afar. He welcomed the War God team to Chenjing Academy for guidance. But the beautiful captain, while supporting Zhang Yuan, said she was just passing by. She was merely dropping off your school's swarming student on her way. Upon hearing this, the principal felt slightly awkward. Is this student from our school? I don't recognize him. Seeing this, the headmaster beside him quickly leaned in to explain. This person is the auditor who got into Chenjing Academy through his sister's connections. Shang Wenyi, the student union representative standing behind, turned grim upon hearing this. So he's a good-for-nothing who got into school through connections. I thought he had some real ability. It seems that beating a classmate into suspension a while ago wasn't due to his own strength either. Then he pointed at Zhang Yuan and loudly challenged him. You good for nothing. Today I'm here to challenge you on behalf of the student council. Do you dare accept? But Zhang Yuan had exhausted his strength from battling those people from the Lighthouse Nation last night. He was now in a weakened state. No matter how the other party called for a doctor, he remained unmoved. He firmly rejected them on the spot, after saying that he intended to return to his dorm to rest. But Shang Wenyi wouldn't let him off. She immediately grabbed Zhang Yuan's arm. The beautiful team captain, who who had seen Zhang Yuan's true strength, watched them with the mindset of enjoying a good show. But to her surprise, the next second, Zhang Yuan was thrown to the ground by Shang Guanyi with a shoulder throw. Afterward, Zhang Yi declared that this guy was ridiculously weak. He was even worse than an ordinary person. Seeing Zhang Yuan lying motionless on the ground like a dead fish, the beautiful team captain quickly stepped forward to help him up. The healing teammate was about to cast a healing spell on him. But in the next second, Yuan Jing sat up again. Everyone was stunned. Could this guy be faking it? But the beautiful captain didn't care about that. She pointed at Shang Guanyi's nose and demanded that he get out of the way. Then she sternly declared that her group risked their lives to eliminate the bad guys. They were born for this, rivers of blood. But upon my return, I didn't hear a single word of thanks. Instead, I was thrown over someone's shoulder. It's simply chilling. Seeing this, the principal hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over, pushing Shang Guanyi's head down, demanding an immediate apology. But this time, the captain wasn't happy. He himself also got into the school through connections. And you still have the nerve to expose others' shortcomings. I must report this matter to my superiors today. We need to thoroughly rectify the school's atmosphere. Without waiting for their explanation, she directly supported Zhang Yuan and walked towards the dormitory. As soon as they arrived at the dormitory, Zhang Yuan opened the door and saw Feng Qing's devilishly welcoming presence. He was instantly startled. He quickly slammed the door shut and said, "It must be because their way of handling things is wrong. Where did this scum come from?" Feng Qing, who had been shut out, walked up to Zhang Yuan with a face full of resentment. But he was surprised to see his enemy and Cage standing beside him. He was shocked. Zhang Yuan knew the two of them. He didn't say much. He walked straight into the house. In the school cafeteria, Feng Qing and the Zhang siblings were eating. Not far away, someone was meticulously recording their every move in a small notebook. Just as Zhang Yuan was pulling his sister back to the dormitory, someone called out to them from behind. The person said they wanted to treat both of them to Malatang at the school gate. Zhonglan, that girl, upon hearing there was Malatang, was ecstatic. The spoiled younger sister, with a dark expression, marched forward to confront him. You've been secretly following me and my sister around in the cafeteria for days. Are you trying to do something inappropriate to my sister? The newcomer quickly explained. He was actually targeting Zhang Yuan. Now it was the sister's turn to be unhappy. She stepped forward and grabbed the classmate's shoulder, shaking him forcefully. You actually want to have improper intentions towards my brother. Let me tell you, my brother is straight. In the future, his wife can only be a woman. Zhang Yuan couldn't listen any longer. She grabbed her sister and ran toward the dorm, leaving the other students standing there, bewildered, shouting behind them. I didn't mean it like that. I just simply wanted to get to know you two siblings. At this time, Feng Qing also caught up. He quietly expressed that he also wanted to eat Malatang. He asked if he could join them. But Zhang Yuan clearly didn't want to take on this gluttonous friend. He directly refused. Feng Qing quickly leaned closer and continued to speak. This morning, his superior, Shang Guanyi, was punished with a 10,000-word self-criticism essay. He might be looking for a chance to get revenge. He brought it on himself. It would be good to give him a couple of shots. It's really too much. The three of them could only go together. At the spicy skewer shop near the school gate, Zhang Yuan was ordering food with his sister. Hearing someone suddenly call his name from behind, he turned around. To his surprise, it was the class beauty Xiao Mei. At that moment, he was 1,000 times unwilling. It was all the fault of Meng Shang Su Jing. This damn charm makes him the center of attention wherever he goes. The three of them sat down opposite Xiao Mei. They remained silent. Everyone secretly harbored 100 suspicions in their hearts. They all stared intently at Xiaomi. Xiaomi, who was being watched by 3 people with 6 eyes, looked embarrassed. Zhonglan quietly asked Feng Qing where this person had appeared from. Could it be that they also want to join in on my brother's wild ambitions? Feng Qing explained. Xiaomi is the strongest support in Huago. She is the only one capable of boosting her teammates by 448% and granting them an invincible status. Her pursuers could easily run around the school more than 30 times. Hearing this, her younger sister looked disdainful. Zhang Yuan affectionately patted her little head to comfort her. When Lan Lan grows up, she'll definitely have even more pursuers. Feng Qing leaned in and whispered to Zhang Yuan, "It seems like they're looking for you. Could it be that you were caught peeking at someone showering?" Zhang Yuan gave him a knowing look. "Figure it out yourself." Then he asked Xiaomi, "What instructions do you have for me?" Xiaomi said, "The annual Xunengji High School League is about to begin. I hear that Zhang Yuan is very strong, so I sincerely invite you to join us." Zhang Yuan refused without hesitation. Feng Qing, who was standing nearby, enjoyed the spectacle. He really poured oil on the fire. Xiaomi was instantly speechless. She could only leave angrily. After she left, the 3 of them instantly felt much more relaxed. Zhonglan even added several spoonfuls of chili to her malatang. But after taking a bite, she couldn't help but stick out her tongue repeatedly. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan immediately handed over his bowl of malatang without chili to exchange with his sister, and he drank his sister's spicy malatang soup and all in one go. Fen King was shocked. Doesn't this guy have any sense of taste? He just drank that super spicy soup base in one gulp. Not even a hint of a breath. He really wasn't wrong. A living dead with no breath and no heartbeat like Zhang Yuan can't taste salty, sweet, bitter, or spicy. Fen King then started explaining the rewards for the college league. The league is divided into individual and team events. The top 1,000 will receive Su Jing rewards. 8 and 0. 10 the top 3 will receive 4 Mu disaster level Xu Jing. Rank 4 to 10 will receive 2x4. Rank 9 to 10 will receive 4 red level Xu Jing. Additionally, the top 10 will have the chance to enter the self-selected realm for refining. After graduation, they can prioritize selecting Su Ninja teams. Zhong Lan, who was eating noodles in large bites, was even more. Isn't the college league only open to Xu Ninja participants? Why is Xiao Mei trying to win over her brother? He's just an ordinary person. Zhong Yuan then remembered. He hadn't told his sister yet. He quickly explained. Actually, I've already become a Xu Nengji and absorbed a lot of Xu Jing. The knave Zhong Lan thought her brother also had to exchange his lifespan to absorb the Xu Jing. She decisively put down her chopsticks. Tears streamed down her face. Oh no. Brother's going to die. He doesn't have much time left, not many years to live. Her genius younger sister is willing to consume 20 years of her lifespan to grow stronger. She even wanted to spend another 30 years mastering her skills. When brother Zhong Yuan heard this news, he was both heartbroken and angry. Now he finally understands why his sister was always so reckless in every battle before her rebirth. Why she fought so aggressively and risked her life. Is there any way Fen King to restore her lifespan? No. As far as I know, neither the Xu crystal that extends life nor technology can help. There is no way to eliminate the effects caused by absorbing it. He immediately took off his sunglasses and activated the lifespan scan. He hadn't noticed before. But now taking a closer look, Zhong Lan's lifespan has indeed decreased by 20 years. Generally speaking, the abilities of Su Neng users are inherited through family lines. If Zhong Lan needs to consume lifespan in order to absorb Su Jing's power, then Zhong Yuan should be the same. But as his gaze shifted to Zhong Yuan, he found that his lifespan was actually displayed as 0. Zhong Yuan closed the box containing the void crystal. He said with righteous indignation, "Never consume your lifespan to absorb void crystals again in the future. If you... My existence would have no meaning. Do it for your brother. Stop doing this." Alright? But Uncle Lin has high hopes for me. And I also want to become stronger to protect my brother. Zhong Yuan heard this and threw the throwing knife in his hand. He accurately split the insect on the wall in two. In fact, you don't have to rely on absorbing ruins crystals to become stronger. You can also strengthen your physical abilities through training. By strategy, the weak can overcome the strong. Using technology to create weapons and using medical skills to save lives and heal the wounded. As long as they are properly trained, they can still become top-tier strong individuals and save the world. Saying this, he picked up Zhong Lan's phone and called Lin Dongliang. "Captain Lin, my sister Zhong Lan's health, there are some issues. I won't be able to absorb Su Jing anymore. Take back the unabsorbed sickle mouth beak Su Jing." Lin Dongliang on the other end of the phone sounded anxious. "What's wrong with her? Get her treatment immediately if something's wrong." But Zhong Yuan resolutely stated, "It's a hereditary family disease. Incurable. But you clearly promised to let her accept the arrangement and become a void energy user. Have you already arranged the entire training plan for her? Now you're suddenly backing out? That's a bit dishonorable, isn't it? My talent is no worse than my sister's. Let me take her place and accept your void energy user training plan." Lin Dongliang didn't he believe this when he heard it. "What do you have to prove that your qualifications are better than Lan Lin's? No evidence without proof? Then how do you want me to prove it? How about this? From now on, I will suspend all resources and privileges for you and your sibling at school. As long as you can finish in the top 10 of the individual competition at the Chuningsha High School League, I'll believe you. I won't answer the past anymore." After sending your sister back to the dormitory, Zhong Yuan asked Fen King, "Can you see other people's lifespans? Does the academy know about it?" Fen King replied, "I'm the first person who knew I had this ability. Did you deliberately reveal your secret to me? Are you implying that I want to tell others that I am a living dead person? Of course not. That's because we're such close buddies. But compared to secrets, you should be focusing more on yourself right now. Lin Dongliang has cut off your resources, and now he expects you to make the top 10 in the college league. It's obviously just making things difficult for you. Why don't you find a rich woman to cling to instead?" As soon as those words were said, Zhong Yuan suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He immediately took out his phone and called the beautiful An Cage. "Captain An, I need your help with something. Do you still have any of the ghost Hogongsa crystals from last time? How many do you need? I'll give you as many as you want. Thank you so much. Consider this a huge favor I owe you." Seeing this, Fen King was shocked. This guy? When did he get involved with Commander An's daughter? At the Huoxu Crystal Warehouse? The warehouse staff were busy organizing the Ghost Ditch Crystal after receiving a level 1 mobilization order from An Cage. Hudong commander in Guanfeng thought his daughter was causing trouble again. He was angrily slamming the table. This is ridiculous. The Fearless and Toxin Eater and the Ghost Hall Crystal are only compatible with affinity attack type abilities. The physique is incompatible. No matter how concentrated the essence is, it can't be forced. It would only waste resources and lead to self-surrender. The chief of staff beside him quickly explained. Previously, the one who wiped out the poachers in the Sheningjia boundary was someone named Swamming. He had the Toxin Eater ability. I suspect the ghost crystal gathered by Missin this time is also meant for Swamming, so I said, sending her 1,000 first, then strictly track the crystal orientation. And Ganfeng agreed. The next day, in the instructor's office, Zhang Yuanjing told instructor Liu Wen that he wanted to sign up for the University League. Liu Wen was a bit doubtful. Only students with Su abilities are eligible to register for the College League. You're just a regular student. Before she finished speaking, Zhong Wan interrupted her. He stated that he had already become a Su ability user. Her face showed displeasure. Students who develop Shu abilities during their studies need to report it to the school immediately. You're such a worrywart. Then she took out a form and asked Zhang Yuan to fill in his abilities. Zhang Yuan took the form and started filling it out, but there were only 8 boxes on it. And the skills he had absorbed from the Xujing were more than just 8. Well, the Ice Blood Explosion skill is too overpowered, so I'll leave it out for now. Also, the super cute level should be toned down a bit. After filling it out, he handed the form to Liu Wen. Looking at the form filled with skills in his hand, Liu Wen couldn't sit still, because in her understanding, human ability users can absorb a maximum of 8 abilities. Any more they'll die from a body explosion. But Zhang Yuan absorbed all the abilities in a short time. Excited, she stood up and walked towards Zhang Yuan. Zhang Yuan? Teacher, I'm sorry. If I had discovered early that you could absorb Xujing on your own, I would have definitely given you better Xujing, instead of letting these low-level skills fill up your slots. But since your talent is so strong, why are you willing to be just a tutor's assistant? Zhang Yuan suddenly remembered that Lin Donglian had the ability to sense Xujing, but he could only sense his sister's talent. He didn't know he possessed the ability to fully absorb the XD Zhang. That's why he was only able to remain at the school as a study companion. All the mysteries could only be unraveled by finding the coffin that crushed him. Liu Wen, after carefully looking at the ability level that Zhang Yuan had filled out on the form, couldn't help but exclaim, disaster level, green tier. That's absurd. What is this superselling skill? She asked Zhang Yuan to demonstrate it for her. Zhang Yuan hesitated at first, but seeing Liu Wen's unwavering gaze, he could only concede. Immediately, he activated his super cute skill. Did you activate it? Instructor, I already activated it. You're already affected now. But why don't I feel anything? This child is so pitiful. I haven't shown him enough care already. How could I possibly discourage him like this? It seems I need to give him more compensation. Zhongwan, what's your family's annual income? Forget it. Let's just report it as 50,000. That way, we can apply for the maximum amount of financial aid. There is also a nutrition plan. You can receive 4 bottles of milk every day. I will also help you with the registration. Based on your results, scholarship should not be a problem. You can also apply to have your student status changed to full-time. Watching the instructor busy, Zhang Yuan looked confused. This super cute skill is too terrifying. I clearly fell for it but had no idea. It even has a golden level 4 regeneration. That's quite rare. Show it to the teacher and see. Zhang Yuan was completely confused. He quickly responded. He wasn't T-injured at the moment. How do I explain this? The instructor said, just use your hair. Based on your golden 4 level, cutting 1 centimeter should make it grow back at least 10. Then he took the scissors, and with ** snip *, cut off a strand of Zhang Yuan's hair. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan immediately activated regeneration. His originally short hair, which was just at his temples, suddenly turned into long hair that reached his shoulders. He was originally a tall, sunny young man, but now he had turned into a soft, black-haired girl. After just showing the instructor his regeneration ability, Zhang Yuan walked out of the office with a head full of jet black long hair. It turned out that the weakened state only reduced his mental and physical strength, but it didn't affect the regeneration ability. He was just thinking. Suddenly, with a loud bang, he was bumped into by someone. He quickly got up and apologized while holding his head. I'm really sorry. I wasn't paying attention while walking. But the person he bumped into just stared at him silently. Zhang Yuan looked up. The person wasn't wearing his school's uniform. He guessed they must be a student from another school. Dizzy. My heart was pounding. I actually bumped into a high school girl around the corner. This is exactly the kind of destined meeting scene between the male and female leads in a manga. Although her voice was a little rough, who could resist this black, straight, long hair, pure and delicate, soft girl? He quickly showed his gentlemanly demeanor, stepping forward to ask Zhang Yuan if she was injured, by the way probing for a name. At this moment, Zhang Yuan was completely confused. What's going on with this person? Haven't I already apologized to him? Why is he still relentlessly questioning me? It seems like he wants to hold me accountable. If I can't afford to offend him, I can at least avoid him. Then with a surge of energy he bolted away. Jiang Shanshu was left standing there, dumbfounded. After a long while he knocked on Liu Wen's office door. It turned out he was the student council president of Hualing College. He had come to discuss inter-school exchange programs with the school, because the two schools spontaneously organized exchange learning programs every year. But year after year it was always the same old faces. The original intention had been lost. So he suggested giving the freshmen a chance this year. The first-year students appointed by both sides will compete. The instructor thought to himself. In previous years, it was always Feng Qing, Shang Guanyai, and Su Wenying who participated, and their Hualing Academy had always been badly beaten. This year, they suddenly suggested sending first-year freshmen to compete. He guessed they must have recruited stronger students. They probably wanted to save face this time. However, most of Hualing's students come from prestigious families. Their abilities are clearly higher. At Qinjing Academy, except for Zhang Yuan, most of the new students haven't become cultivators yet. It's also good for them to experience some setbacks. She immediately agreed to the request. However, the timing will be decided by Qinjing Academy. Meanwhile, at the barbershop near the school gate, Zhang Yuan with his long hair is asking the barber to give him a buzz cut. The little sister next to him quickly stopped him. I don't want my brother to become an ugly monster. Tony the hairdresser, please give my brother a hairstyle that will captivate everyone, a hairstyle that will make thousands fall in love. The hairdresser understood. After a period of fussing, Zhang Yuan was given a straight-across bangs, ladylike hairstyle. Watching her straight-laced brother transform into a soft and cute girl, Zhang Lan happily stepped forward to tie him two ponytails. Zhang Yuan quickly stopped her, but his sister brought up old grievances. When they were young, their brother had said that double ponytails were a strong person's hairstyle. Now he refuses to wear them. Were all those words lies? Zhang Yuan quickly explained. Lan Lan has grown up. It's time for your brother to unlock the sealed dark magical power. Upon hearing this, Zhang Lan immediately felt uneasy. After a while, two figures, one tall and one short, walked out of the barber shop. The tall one had neat bangs and a thick ponytail combed back. Next to him, the shorter one had two mischievous braids. From a distance, one appeared elegant and graceful, the other youthful and energetic. She's a beauty, the school's most popular girl, with suitors enough to circle the earth 2.5 times, the school beauty. And she's also the academy's strongest support player. But because of one sentence from Zhang Yuan, she trains nonstop for 25 hours a day, sleeplessly undergoing physical training. Just recently, she made a date with Zhang Yuan alone at the school gate, go eat mouth, and sincerely invite others to join the team, the college league team. But I never expected that this talented and beautiful campus belle would be rejected by a mere audit student. When asked why, Zhang Yuan simply said, "Pack. The reason you're the strongest support is because of your ultimate wish skill, but you yourself are too weak." Since then, Su Wenying started training day and night. Even her best friend, the Jiang Siyuan, couldn't bear to watch anymore. Could it be just because of Zhang Yuan's words? Did you take a hit? The league is restructuring. It was only a matter of time before you and Feng Qing parted ways. Zhang Yuan is also Feng Qing's brother. Feng Qing fell out with the entire student council for him, so it's only natural that he rejected you. But Su Wenying said, "You don't understand." He said, "I'm not strong enough." Indeed, the strongest support is because of the ultimate wish on me. The ultimate wish? Not because of who I am. Therefore, I must train even harder. Even you, the chosen one, are working so hard. How are we mere mortals supposed to survive? Just as she was saying this, her phone suddenly rang. It was a call from her twin brother, Jiang Shanshuo. Well, the sun must be rising from the west today. Why would my little brother call me? Could it be that you're trying to gather intelligence? Jiang Shanzhou felt embarrassed. For the sake of his dream lover, he absolutely couldn't get angry. You see, this cheap older sister of his had a habit since childhood of labeling boys. This one a 0, that one a 1. And he was finally not in the same high school as her. For the happiness of my future life, I must stay calm. Sis, I want you to help me find someone. This morning, outside the staff room at your school, I bumped into her. She's a soft, cute girl with long black straight hair, delicate, slender, and really adorable. I think I might have developed feelings for her. As soon as those words were out, Jiang Saiwan immediately became so happy that he was jumping around. That's great. So my little brother likes girls after all. Looks like the Jiang family won't be dying out. Don't worry. I'll go check the surveillance footage right away. I promise I'll help you find your one true love. Meanwhile, in the East China office, Cage is talking nonstop to her dad about Miji Zhongyuan's achievements. Dad, you have no idea how impressive swimming really is? Okay. You've been telling me this for 2.5 hours already. My ears are starting to get calluses. He's only 16 this year, but his maturity far surpasses his peers. He's incredibly capable, but he keeps a low profile, and he's completely uninterested in joining any kind of team. Not even a shoulder throw from someone could provoke any reaction from him. He's so cold and detached it's unusual. You can't control someone like that. Daughter, you should give up. If you can't let go, just be casual friends with him. That'll be enough. Hearing this, Cage angrily stood up and left. His phone suddenly rang. He opened it to check. It was Zhang Yuan's personal information. After the update, it was set to top secret. I didn't expect a teenager in high school could actually absorb 8 skills. And the level of each skill is so high. He even has the coveted death exemption. There's even a national treasure level skill, super cuteness. But compared to these, what surprised him even more was that there was no thief. Hunter's Lighthouse, the scavenger robust ability, logically such a powerful scavenger, should have condensed into a scavenger crystal after death. But Zhang Yuan neither absorbed it nor handed it over. This would undoubtedly bring him a lot of danger. At this moment, the delivery guy was pulling a huge safe towards Zhang Yuan. Haven't seen you in a few days, new hairstyle. But you know what? This long hair really suits you. Zhang Yuan helplessly said. He was originally going to shave his head. Unfortunately, my sister likes long hair, so I can only keep it. After receiving the package, Zhang Yuan couldn't wait to open the safe. It turned out to be a gift from Cage. Ghostly Ruins crystal mysterious table. A note was left inside. Tanya. Between comrades. No need to thank me. Look in the overflowing Sujing. Zhang Yuan thought to himself. After absorbing so much Sujing in the Furious Strike skill, I should be able to reach the level of a martial arts master now. He then gathered his energy and began to absorb it. The man was struck by a heavy blow. The golden coffin struck, and Jing accidentally resurrected, returning to 4 years ago. Although he lost his breath and heartbeat, he could still live like a normal person. Moreover, he gained the ability to absorb Sujing at 100% efficiency. In order to prevent his sister's tragedy from repeating, he decided to become a student at Shuning High School, an audit student in the special class. Originally, I just wanted to quietly stay by my sister's side and protect her from all dangers. But unexpectedly, step by step, I ended up becoming the strongest wasteland user. Not only due to my extraordinary strength, but also gaining recognition from the top leaders of Hoguo. He even captured the hearts of many boys and girls with his cool and handsome appearance. The day before, he told commanders, Daughter and Kage that he needed Ghost Trench Ruins crystals. The next day, he received a whole safe full of them. Calculating at 5 figures each, these thousands of ruins crystals are worth almost a small gold. Such a precious thing, and Cage says she'll give it away just like that. At this moment, Zhang Yuan finally understands why Feng Yu Mo is so keen on clinging to rich women. Soon after, he began to take action and started absorbing. Countless extra crystals instantly transformed into streams of golden light that gathered toward Zhang Yuan's body. As the amount of absorption increased, his original ghostly pit ability is constantly upgrading. Furious Strike upgraded to Green Max. You have obtained a new ability, Martial Arts Master. Martial Arts Master upgraded to Red Max. You have obtained a new ability, Tit for Tat. Tit for Tat upgraded to Green Max. You have obtained a new ability, Blood for Blood. Fighter's abilities increased by 1000%. When attacked, can absorb a certain amount of attack power and rebound damage. The rebound power does not exceed 300% of the user's attack. After absorbing all the void crystals, Zhang Yuan suddenly felt dizzy. He even felt an unusual fatigue that he had never experienced after being reborn. I remember my teacher once said, Rujing contains the negative energy produced by the death of heterogeneous being salients. Absorbing large amounts will cause side effects to the body. It seems I can't just casually absorb large amounts of Rujing anymore. Just as I was thinking that, suddenly everything went black before my eyes. A faint voice came from behind me. Guess who? Immediately from the dorm building, a pitiful scream echoed. Zhang Yuan, hands in his pockets, said to Feng King, who had just been instinctively by, you should be glad that my instincts aren't fast enough to instantly defeat you yet. Feng King, on the other hand, looked wronged and said, I knocked on the door myself, but Zhang Yuan didn't respond, so I climbed in through the window. I originally planned to tease him a little, but instead I was met with a brutal strike. If it weren't for my ability to withstand it, I came this time to remind Zhang Yuan. At the same time, in the meeting room, all the department heads of the student council are already seated neatly. They knew that Zhang Yuan would attend today, but they purposely didn't leave him a seat. Shanguni said, no matter what the president says, there will absolutely be no seat here. This is the seat of the useless Zhang Yuan. Soon after, the door to the conference room was pushed open. Feng King and Zhang Yuan arrived. He spoke to introduce them to everyone. This is Zhang Yuan. From now on, he will serve as a disciplinary committee member of the student council. After saying that, he quietly reminded him, Zhang Yuan, introduce yourself. But who would have thought that Zhang Yuan simply coldly said, Hello everyone. My name is Zhang Yuan. This indifferent attitude instantly provoked dissatisfaction from everyone present, but with the president backing him up, Everyone could only see with anger and say nothing. Seeing there were no empty seats, Feng King then asked him to sit in the president's seat. Zhang Yuan was not polite. He simply grunted and sat down directly. The nearby Kanbu quickly reminded him, this is the president's exclusive seat. But before she could finish, Zhang Yuan shot her a cold glare. What's wrong? I can sit in this chair. He's the man who can pin the top 2 fighters on the youth rankings to the ground and grind them down. Even his personal information has been classified as top secret. But just because he was in a weakened state, he took a shoulder throw. They treated him like a soft persimmon that could be easily squeezed. In the school conference room, the weekly student council meeting was being held. The self-important officers intended to show newcomer Zhang Yuan a lesson by purposely not assigning him a seat. But little did they know, President Feng King would protect him with flair. He gave up his own designated seat to Zhang Yuan. He just sat down. The secretary next to him, Jan Ru, immediately spoke up to stop him. Zhang Yuan, upon hearing this, simply said expressionlessly, "What can't I sit here?" His sharp gaze was chilling. Jan Ru was instantly frightened by his powerful aura and broke out in a cold sweat. Zhang Yuan is such a despicable and shameless little wimp. A good-for-nothing who got to where he is through foul play. If you've got the guts, let's fight one-on-one. Jianru saw this and quickly stopped him, but Shang Wenyi continued to speak harsh words. Feng King, hearing this, was completely dumbfounded. He didn't know why he would, such a strong reaction. You're shameless. Your sister is no good either. At such a young age, she's already involved with high-ranking bigwigs. She's tangled up with them. Now you've directly touched a nerve with Zhang Yuan. His expression darkened instantly. How dare you tarnish his precious sister? Looks like you don't want to leave the meeting room standing up. But Shang Wenyi didn't care and continued to provoke. Anyone can put on a show. If you're so capable, accept my challenge. Fine, I'll accept. You lose. Not only will you have to apologize to my sister in front of the whole school, he still has to be a dog for another month. Every morning kneel at the cafeteria door and offer up dumplings with both hands. The flames of war about to erupt. Feng Qi now kindly reminded Shang Wenyi not to seek death on his own. But at this point he was already so inflated he lost himself, furiously slamming the table. She is still the emotionless Zhang Yuan. Do you really think I'll be afraid of you just because you say that? Dream on. Heaven help me, I will definitely beat you, this useless fool. Back to your true form, but if you lose, you'll have to crawl while barking like a dog and roll out of Qinjing Academy. Zhang Yuan says it's fine. If that's the case, then I'll be the witness to this battle. Let me emphasize one point. You two don't have any deep-seated hatred. Don't go all out when you fight. Soon a clear space was made in the conference room. Zhang Yuan, hands still in his pockets, didn't look like he was facing an opponent. He was incredibly cool. Shang Wenyi assumed a fighting stance, ready to fight at any moment. Feng Qing transformed into a war correspondent, holding a phone and taking pictures non-stop. Shang Wenyi started by activating his skill, his fist instantly unleashing intense flames, speeding towards Zhang Yuan. But unexpectedly, Zhang Yuan simply dodged the attack with a simple sidestep. Shang Wenyi turned back in disbelief, his face filled with confusion. He began to question whether Zhang Yuan was truly useless after all. At this moment, Zhang Yuan was also a little surprised. He hadn't expected that after activating the fighting master skill, the attack, which was so fast, seemed like it was in slow motion to him. It felt as though it was being played in slow motion dozens of times. Seeing him like this, he's far less durable than Feng Qing. If I were to make a move, I'd probably disable him with just one strike. I have to hold back a bit. Just as I was thinking this, Shang Wenyi launched another even fiercer attack. I don't believe you can dodge this move, but facing his punches and kicks, falling like raindrops. Zhang Yuan, however, merely dodged them all with a slight movement. Feng Qing was speechless at the sight. This skill, relying solely on rage-based attack skills, definitely couldn't achieve this. This Zhang Yuan, just how many secrets is he hiding? 10 minutes later, Shang Wenyi hadn't even touched a single hair on Zhang Yuan's head. He slumped onto the table in utter dejection. This is totally outrageous. This guy's clearly so strong. But that day when I threw him with a shoulder throw, he didn't even react at all. Could it be that he doesn't even take himself seriously? Immediately he furiously raised his fist again. Zhang Yuan, you coward. If you have the guts, don't hide. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan just sighed, immediately counterattacking with blood for blood, head-on facing the incoming attack. The reflection skill has been activated. This time, whether you live or die, it's up to you to decide. He barely got into the school by using connections as an auditor. Yet after the new student military training, he was immediately placed in the student council with an important position. Even the student council president treats him with great respect, but many still doubt his abilities. At the meeting, Shang Wenyi, who was also a member of the discipline committee, challenged Zhang Yuan. But despite his fierce tiger-like attacks, Zhang Yuan was always able to easily dodge them. After a long, Shang Guanyi, who hadn't even touched the corner of Zhang Yuan's clothes, was exhausted. He never expected that this man, who had once been too scared to speak after being thrown with a shoulder throw, actually had such ridiculously high true strength. After all, he was ranked 209th on the youth ranking. After nearly 10 minutes of attacks, not even a single hair on his head was touched. With a heart full of anger and sorrow, he raised his fist, putting all his strength into delivering the final blow to Zhang Yuan. But this time, Zhang Yuan did not choose to dodge. He simply stood quietly in place. Everyone was holding their breath for him. It was important to know that this punch from Shang Guanyi, Bajing used up all his energy. If he's hit, the impact would be no less than a high explosive grenade. 3 meters. 2 meters. 1 meter. Shang Guanyi's face was full of bewilderment. Why did Zhang Yuan dodge? Could it be that he looks down on his own strength this much? In fact, in his heart, he had already acknowledged Zhang Yuan's strength. The final strike he launched was merely an attempt to regain some of the dignity he had lost due to underestimating his opponent. But in front of him, Zhang Yuan didn't dodge or avoid it, which made him panic for a moment. In his haste, he could only barely retract half of his strength. Then his fist heavily struck Zhang Yuan's shoulder. His clothes were instantly torn apart by the shock, but I heard nothing from Zhang Yuan. Instead, Shang Guanyi's arm was blown to pieces, like it was hit by a cannonball. With a thud, he fell into a pool of blood. Zhang Yuan immediately activated regeneration to heal his shoulder wound. Looking at the extremely pained Shang Guanyi on the ground, he thought he actually knew when to stop. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been just the loss of an arm. Jian Ru, his childhood sweetheart, quickly rushed forward to help him up. Everyone was astonished. Classmate Zhang Yuan actually defeated the 209th ranked young talent, Shang Guanyi, effortlessly without even moving his hands. This strength is simply terrifying. That being said, but breaking someone's arm over a small disagreement seems a bit too much. Feng Qing, with a face full of resentment, said, I thought we agreed not to kill. Looky. You didn't kill him, but you directly crippled him. Watching that makes me feel like giving up on treatment, Zhang Yuan hurriedly explained. Are you blind? Are you making things up? I was standing there like a statue, not moving at all. My clothes were even ruined by him. And you're saying I did it, but Feng Qing refused to relent? Look at his arm, it's shattered from the impact, and you're still telling me you didn't strike. Faced with the relentless questioning, Zhang Yuan could only helplessly sigh. He immediately activated his ultimate cuteness skill. It's not my fault. The force was mutual. Upon hearing this, Feng Qing exploded in anger. You think I haven't studied physics? Force and reaction force are equal. If he's hurt, how could you be fine? Zhang Yuan, you're suspicious. Did this national treasure level cute act not work? Works sometimes, but not always. Looks like I need to study it more. Feng Qing then picked up the broken clothes from the ground and handed them to Zhang Yuan. Forget it. Your clothes are torn. Let me heal you first. Were today's events within your expectations? Feng said. More or less. Jian Ru, anxiously supporting Shang Guanyi, shouted loudly. He's so badly injured. You actually still have the mood to joke around. Feng Qing, aren't you going to come over and treat him? As soon as these words were spoken, Feng Qing became unhappy. Am I your personal tool for reversing the sun? You really think I've spent these past 2 years cultivating my temper? Letting you all call me around like this? This idiot keeps provoking me again and again. No matter how much I tried to stop you, you still had to lay hands on my people. Now you're reaping what you sow? Let me tell you this today, I can't treat this injury. If you want to do anything, go ahead. At this moment, the surrounding students were also whispering, he really deserves it. Zhang Yuan didn't make a move the entire time. He kept dodging. Even with countless opportunities, he didn't counterattack. He's already showing great grace. Shang Guanyi really doesn't know what's good for him. The person recommended by the president. How could he be so weak? Listening to the people around, they were all talking about the various flaws of my childhood sweetheart. Jian Ru's face was filled with grievance and confusion. These people were just supporting Shang Guanyi, so why did the tide suddenly turn? They've never been this wishy-washy before. But there was no time for her to think about it now. She quickly took out her phone to call the guards. Soon, the guards had placed Shang Guanyi on a stretcher, and they swiftly contacted the medical room to prepare for rescue. He immediately asked what had happened. Zhang Yuan scratched his head, a little embarrassed. He admitted that he was the one who beat him. Hearing this, Feng Qing quickly explained. It was a fair fight. Catetify. Regardless of the truth, since he caused such serious injuries to Shang Guanyi, they all have to go with us. Please, Mr. Feng, don't make things difficult for us. Feng Qing's face was serious. What's wrong? Are you threatening me? Zhang Yuan quickly stopped him when he saw this. It's fine. I'll go with him, that's all. After all, people are hurt because of me. I believe that those in charge wouldn't be so heartless. At the moment of departure, he still remembered to turn back and remind me. This matter? Don't tell your sister. At this moment, Feng Qing still looked grim. Can these guys be trusted? Alright then. Since you choose to believe, I'll give them a chance. The man took a heavy blow like a bomb, but was not harmed in the slightest. Instead, the attacker lost an arm. Shang Wenyi's childhood friend saw this and quickly called the guards to take him to the medical room for emergency treatment. Soon after, Zhang Yuan, unharmed, was also taken away. Zhang Yuan, thank you very much for cooperating with our work. However, until the superiors confirm the detail, I'm afraid you will have to endure a little inconvenience. You will have to stay in the isolation room for now. You can go anywhere else for the time being. He looked at the small bed in the corner. Suddenly, a wave of drowsiness surged over him. He immediately turned off all the lights and windows. He quietly lay on the bed. With his eyes closed, he felt the dim, small, enclosed space. A strange sense of comfort arose in Zhang Yuan's heart. If only this room were a little smaller. It would be perfect if the top, bottom, and all sides of the bed were enclosed. Indeed, only a confined, narrow space like a coffin can bring peace to a dead person. After that, he activated his super perception. Then he fell asleep for the first time since his rebirth. In the monitoring room, the two officers saw Zhang Yuan so calm, he even fell into a deep sleep. They speculated that he was only pretending to be calm to combat his nervousness, so they curiously started making bets. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, the former principal, holding the school conduct reform standards, had a sullen expression. The director of education comforted him from the side. Stay optimistic. This time the school conduct reform covers the entire East China region. It's not just our Chenjing College. The principal grew more and more angry. Look at these demands. All subject scores must not be lower than 85. If you don't meet the standards in the midterm exams, you can't participate in the university league. If you don't meet the standards in the graduation exams, you'll be forced to repeat the grade. Sai didn't meet the standard in all subjects, but Zhang Yuan got full marks in everything. It's obvious that this is targeting her, Captain had already said. Since the last time we eliminated the poachers, she realized the importance of theoretical knowledge. The sound had not yet faded. A police officer suddenly burst in. Principal, this is bad. Shang Wenyi accidentally broke his arm while sparring with someone. He is now lying in the infirmary, but no medical personnel with limb regeneration abilities have arrived yet. It's likely that the arm can't be saved. Upon hearing this, the principal leaped up from the sofa. Where is the student council president, Feng Qing? Police explanation. Feng Qing was at the scene at that time, but refused to treat it no matter what. He immediately felt a sharp pain in his heart. If his nephew's arm couldn't be saved, it would be like his whole life was ruined. Please don't panic. The most important thing now is to figure out the situation first. You know what a bad temper Feng Qing has. If all else fails, we'll have to ask Commander and to help persuade him. A short while later, Feng Qing, just about to go to the mess hall for dinner, received a call. Looking at the caller Ed, he looked helpless. It's ridiculous. Can't get him to agree himself, so they bring out the old fox to pressure me. Truly the demeanor of a great leader. He answered the phone immediately. Commander Ann. You wouldn't be calling me to discuss the bigger picture, would you? Something like East China can't afford to lose so-and-so and all that? Unexpectedly, the other end of the line indicated otherwise. I've already seen the video of the battle. Zhang Yuan is not at fault. You have no obligation to save him. Zhang Yuan is a once-in-a-century talent. Since he has chosen to trust us, we will certainly handle this impartially. We will absolutely not condone or shield anyone. Therefore, whether you save Shang Wenyi today or not, the higher-ups will absolutely not hold Zhang Yuan responsible. You've known Shang Wenyi for more than 2 years. You understand what kind of person he is. As for whether to save him or not, I believe you already have an answer in your heart. Feng Qing expressed his understanding. He immediately hung up the phone. When he walked in the cafeteria, he saw Zhong Lan, the little foodie, holding a bowl full of spicy chicken. It was covered with colorful peppers. Zhong Lan, are you really just eating this mess for dinner? Zhong Lan replied, these are so delicious. Do you want to try some? By the way, Brother Feng Qing, didn't my brother go with you to the student council's regular meeting this afternoon? Why didn't I see him come to the canteen with you? Rebellious teenagers need more vegetables. Ignorance will always exact a price for one's arrogance. In the school cafeteria, Zhong Lan asked Feng Qing where her brother is. Why didn't he come to eat with her? Feng Qing explained. Zhong Yuan was bitten by a rabid dog. He's currently at the infirmary getting a rabies shot. She was stunned for a moment upon hearing this. Then her face was filled with worry. Seeing this, Feng Qing quickly changed the subject. He pointed to her bowl, which was piled high with food, and said, Lanlin, you're taking advantage of your brother not being here to eat spicy food and not eating your main meal. I'm going to report you. Upon hearing this, Zhong Lan instantly felt guilty. I didn't tea. I just accidentally ordered too much. I feel too embarrassed to send it back, so how about this? I'll get more vegetarian dishes and staple foods and share them with you. You give me half of the spicy chicken. Zhong Lan was puzzled. How come Feng Qing, who can't usually eat spicy food, suddenly wants to try spicy chicken? Feng Qing replied that he wanted to try something new. Zhonglan thought she had found a kindred spirit in Gongji. She happily picked up a piece of chicken from her bowl and offered it to him. This is the cafeteria's signature dish. I guarantee you'll be hooked after just one bite. Feng Qing, trembling, picked up a piece and put it in his mouth. His face instantly turned redder than a monkey's butt. It's deadly. Is this really something a human can eat? It's all my fault. I should never have, absolutely never should have, believed that brother and sister's delicious food. After a cursory check, he picked up his rice bowl and wolfed it down. Zhonglan beside him was still full of anticipation. How? I told you it was super delicious. Feng Qing, almost dying on the spot, endured the burning sensation in his stomach. Raise your hand if you're in excruciating pain. That's great. But then he activated the sun-tracing self-rescue. Lan, the dog that bit your brother is the principal's, fostered by the student council, a pricey guard dog. It bit him because it wasn't familiar with him. He actually planned to bring it for you to play with. But now your brother has beaten it into a three-legged, crippled dog. He hadn't shown mercy. I guess they'd have beaten it to death. Do you think this dog is worth treating? Zhonglan's mouth was full of chicken. She mumbled a question, asking if it would bite her brother again after being treated. Feng Qingji solemnly guaranteed that it absolutely wouldn't. After thinking for 2.5 seconds, Zhonglan said, if it doesn't bite people anymore, then let's treat it. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, the principal and his party are anxiously waiting. Director Gu? Should I call higher-ups again? Director Gu quickly stopped him. It's only been 24 hours. There are still 2 hours left. There's no use getting anxious now. If Feng Qing really doesn't want to come, no one can do anything about it. Shang Wenyi, sitting on the bed dejected, loudly scolded. Enough? All of you get out. I need to rest. Seeing this, they slowly walked out of the ward. Had everyone left, Shang Wenyi could no longer suppress the sadness in his heart. He rested his head in his hands and began to repent. It was all his fault for being so foolish. He knew that Zhang Yuan was the person chosen by Feng Qing, yet he still insisted on doubting his abilities. But even after being thrown with a shoulder throw, Zhang Yuan didn't fight back. During the duel, he kept making concessions. Why couldn't he see it at that time? Why do you have to bully such a good person? And now, even if Feng Qing is unwilling to help treat him, he will just consider it a consequence of his own actions. While thinking about this, a sound suddenly came from the door. Unknowingly, Feng Qing was leaning against the door frame, with his hands in his pockets, questioning whether he regretted it. Hearing this, Shang Wenyi no longer cared about his dignity. With a thud, he kneeled to the ground. Heshi wept and pleaded, saying Heshi knew Heshi was wrong. Please forgive me, save me. Feng Qing could only watch helplessly. Why didn't you think of this before? Heshi thought. Then Heshi used the Suri technique on his severed arm. Shang Wenyi's missing limb was instantly restored. Having finished, Heshi left without looking back. Before leaving, you still reminded me. This time you're lucky. Zhang Yuan didn't want to kill in front of everyone. If you dare to mess with me again next time, no one will be able to save you. One last thing, don't forget to keep your promise. Your hand will heal. It's all because his sister didn't want the three-legged, tumorous dog. The man actually slept for 7 days and 7 nights, without eating, drinking, or using the toilet. He didn't even move a muscle. Zhang Yuan, this guy can really sleep. Is it really okay to go that long without eating, drinking, or using the toilet? At the school security office, several people were buzzing about encountering someone who could sleep this much for the first time. I went to deliver food to him several times and called him, but he didn't respond at all. Could it be that he's dead? Suddenly the door was opened. A man, his face filled with anger, walked in the office. The military district has already finished investigating and filed the records. Why haven't you released him yet? It's not that we don't want to release him. It's him who refuses to go out. The police officer looks completely wrong. Soon several people arrived at Jin Zhongyuan's closed room. They turned on all the lights. The man approached his bed and said, the investigation into Shang Wenyi's matter has been completed. You don't need to bear any responsibility. You can leave now. He called out for a long time, but Zhang Yuan, lying rigidly on the bed, showed no response. The man gently touched him with his hand. He found Zhang Yuan's body unusually cold. He immediately checked for his breath. He was instantly horrified. He has no breath. Quickly call for medical personnel. The guard was instantly scared, breaking out in cold sweat. Why not just call Feng Qing to rescue him from the sunbathing camp? But a colleague nearby disagreed. You know what the relationship is between Feng Qing and Zhang Yuan? If he finds out that Zhang Yuan has turned into this state in the confinement room, our entire security department might be in trouble. We should call Dr. Cheng Ying, the chief physician. Soon after, the doctor grumbled as he rushed over. I just managed to stabilize Shiguanyi's life. Finally got off work and was about to have a drink, and now you all summoned me again. You really know how to make things difficult. Everyone said, the situation is really urgent. Otherwise we would have called you so urgently. Please hurry and save him. The doctor immediately started life support on Zhang Yuan. But after a long while, Zhang Yuan still didn't move at all. Suddenly the doctor spat out blood, feeling faint and nearly collapsing. Luckily, the police officer nearby quickly supported him. "How's Zhang Yuan doing?" But unexpectedly, the doctor looked terrified. "He's already cold. There's nothing I can do. You should quickly notify the family to arrange the funeral." "Excuse me, everyone." Saying this, he ran straight out the door. Now everyone was helpless. They had no choice but to call upper management to report. But Commander on the other side remained unusually calm. According to the information previously submitted by Feng Qing, Zhang Yuan had also experienced symptoms of a fake death before. In fact, it was more like a hibernation state. No special treatment was needed. He will naturally wake up when the time comes. Once these words were spoken, everyone in the confinement room finally relaxed. But we can't just leave him sleeping in the confinement room like this. We learned this in middle school biology class. When the temperature rises, animals end their hibernation. Shall we raise the room temperature and see? So they brought in a pile of heating equipment. They blew a blast of air toward Zhang Yuan's face. "Winter's over. Zhang Yuan, wake up. The spring thunder is roaring. All hibernating animals should wake up and search for food." "Zhang Yuan, your performance in the mission where you eliminated the poachers was outstanding. The higher-ups have decided to award you a medal and a banner. Additionally, there's a generous monetary reward. Hurry up and get up to receive your award." "Zhang Yuan, a special educational edition with 10 GB of high-definition rare footage. As long as you get up, I'll immediately transfer everything to you." But no matter how hard they tried, Zhang Yuan remained completely still. The others stomped their feet, expressing that they were at their wits' end. At this point, let's not pretend to save face. Hurry up and call Feng Qing. Everyone be prepared to be Kate. At this moment, Zhang Yuan is immersed in his own consciousness. There is no time there. There is no space. It is the other shore of life and death. He just drifts quietly, as if merging with everything around him. At this moment, a faint voice was heard in the ear. "Zhang Yuan, your sister was beaten by someone from Huling Academy." "Zhang Yuan, your sister was beaten by someone from Huling Academy." After hearing the content of the voice, Zhang Yuan immediately opened his eyes. He suddenly sat up. He grabbed Feng Qing's collar beside him with one hand. "What did you say? Who hit Lanlan?" The man had slept for 7 days and nights. He had even lost his breath and heartbeat, but he woke up with just one sentence. "Zhang Yuan, your sister was beaten by people from Huling Academy." At these words, Zhang Yuan, who had been lying in bed just moments before, instantly sat up, grabbing Feng Qing by the collar. "What did you say? Lanlan was beaten by whom?" Seeing him awake, everyone was instantly moved to tears of gratitude. "Zhang Yuan, are you alright? Shouldn't we get a checkup?" Seeing this, Feng Qing pulled Zhang Yuan up and started to leave. "Don't worry. He's fine. No need for any checkup. Yuan, let's go. Let's go get some late-night snacks." Meanwhile, Zhang Yuan was still in a daze. Only when I looked at the time on my phone did I realize that I had actually slept for such a long time, and the super perception I activated before sleeping didn't wake him up. He was confused and asked Principal Feng Qing why he had so easily let him go. Shang Guangai is his own nephew after all. Feng Qing replied that a mere principal wouldn't dare to trouble him. He has the commander backing him up. Seeing Zhang Yuan still looking puzzled, he continued to explain. "The commander of the East China region in Ganfeng. He's the same in Cage who stayed out all night with you last time. I can't figure out why this old fox is siding with you. Could it be that you did something unspeakable to his daughter?" Hearing this, Zhang Yuan fell into deep thought. Originally he was thinking, if they end up covering up for Shang Guangai, he would use force to directly flatten the school. But now looking at the situation, seems like I was narrow-minded. I better keep these words to myself. Suddenly he turned around and questioned Feng Qing. "Right? I just remembered. Earlier didn't you say that my sister was beaten by someone from Huling Academy?" Feng Qing scratched his head, feeling a bit embarrassed. This story begins with the long-standing tradition between Cheng Ying and Huling academies of competing and sparring with each other. 12 hours ago, Zhang Lan, along with other new students, represented Cheng Ying to go to Huling Academy for a martial arts competition. But they were all defeated. On the way back, Zhang Lan, sitting in her seat, looked utterly dejected. The classmates next to her quickly tried to comfort her. Huling students are all from wealthy families. They also started their training earlier than us, so it's normal that we lost. Especially that guy Kui Xingxi, he's incredibly strong. If you manage to exchange a few moves with him, that's already impressive. A loss is a loss. I won't make excuses like you. The truth is I wasn't strong enough. I must work harder when I get back. The instructor felt relieved and pleased to hear this. This sparring trip to Huling, although we lost, it ignited the students' fighting spirit, so it achieved the purpose of this trip. Zhang Lan then took out her phone and made a call. "Brother Feng Qing, I have a request. My brother said you're exceptionally skilled in fighting, so I'd like to ask you to give me special training." Speaking of which, Feng Qing waved his hand indicating, "That's how things are." Zhang Yuan's face instantly darkened. Lan actually hid this from me and went to fight, and she asked you for special training instead of me? What exactly did you do to her? Feng Qing to shame. Don't look at me like that. I didn't do anything. And I've been completely honest with you about everything. It seems like I'm always on your side, right? But seriously, your sister, although she didn't suffer any external injuries, but her young heart was dealt a heavy blow by Hoaling Academy. She must have hoped for a Superman brother to help her take revenge. Unfortunately, this competition is only open to first-year students. At this moment, Zhang Yuan was so angry that his veins were bulging. He was rolling up his sleeves, ready to find that guy who hurt his sister to settle the score. Meanwhile, in the banquet hall of Hualing Academy, a pretty boy surrounded by a crowd was arrogantly raising his glass. People from Lighthouse Country all act like bulls. I can still easily 1v5 without flinching. And the people here are all weaklings, like bean sprouts. I can defeat 10 or 20 of them with just one hand. Not far away, Jiang Qianshu and his classmates were so angry their teeth itched. This guy Kuyi keeps bragging about Lighthouse Country and belittling Huo Country. Are we just gonna let him get away with this? This pretty boy has half of his blood from Kimchi Country. The reason for coming to China was to participate in the University League. His family even spent 2 small goals for it. They also had other interest exchanges with the Board of Trustees. So the upper management of the school also wanted to create momentum for him by leveraging the competition with Chenjing College. For this reason, they even had me bypass the Chenjing Student Union and go directly to talk with the professors. But even the first-year students at Chenjing weren't capable of handling this guy. Just as they were speaking, a loud noise suddenly came from the door. The little Karamis from Huling Academy, come out here and take your beating. What's going on here? It seems like people from Chenjing Academy have come to challenge us. It's only 11 o'clock. The time limit hasn't passed yet. Zhang Shanzhu was the first to push open the door and go out. But as soon as he went out, he froze on the spot. Pure frail with long, straight black hair? How could it be her? Inside the door, 2 quite handsome figures stood imposingly. My sister only scraped her skin during the martial arts competition, but her brother wants to kill the other person. The love from the obsessional fan Zhang Yuan is so simple and violent. Little trash from Huling Academy. Come out and get beaten. The president of Huling Academy's student council, Jiang Qianshu, was the first to rush out of the door. But upon seeing the visitor, he froze in place. Pure delicate and long black hair. Isn't this the person he has been thinking about day and night? His love at first sight. But why does he look more and more like a boy now? He then asked Q Ren next to him. Do you think that person with long black straight hair next to Feng Qing is a boy or a girl? That looks like a boy, alright? Nowadays it's quite common for boys to have long hair. So President, don't judge people by their hairstyle. Jiang Shanzhu, upon hearing this, still held on to a sliver of hope. How could it be a boy? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. At this moment, Choi Sung-sa, the pale-faced kimchi boy, walked out with a look of disdain. Oh ho. Isn't this Sung Young's good for nothing? I 1v15 wiped out his team and he still won't admit defeat. Here come 2 more to give away points. The people hit my sister. It's you. Zhang Yuan's pale face instantly began to show signs of struggle. He gathered strength with both hands, releasing blue energy. The reckless Kui Xingxi was still shouting. Take one down and a whole nest comes. This is the shameless trait of your Hago. Before he could finish his words, Zhang Yuan immediately launched his attack. Fearless Ice Master, Martial Arts Master, Blood for Blood, all skills activated. A heavy punch strikes little pickled cabbage square in the face. A loud crash heard. Koi Sungshi is instantly sent flying dozens of meters. He crashes heavily into the fountain and tumbles headfirst into the water. The onlookers gasp, holy shit. What just happened? How did he get sent flying like that? Hurry, call for treatment. At this moment, Zhang Yuan was also a little confused. All 4 abilities were activated. His body didn't feel any unusual sensation. After, I feel like I've become stronger again. Feng Qing, who was nearby, quickly asked, how strong? How many Stormy Inks can you defeat in an instant? Zhang Yuan explained. It's not about defeating a few instantly. It's about the cost being lower. Has the weak period become shorter? How short is it now? Seeing Feng Qing suddenly care about him, he felt a little uncomfortable. He asked in confusion, why are you so concerned about me? You don't mean you've fallen for him, do you? I'll tell you this. I'm a straight guy. I'm not interested in you. Feng Qing is embarrassed. That's not what I meant. For the upcoming National League, we'll definitely be on the same team. I need to get to know my teammates' situation first. Zhang Yuan said that what originally required 2 days of recovery time now only takes a day and a half. He then tried to gather his energy and found that his mental strength seemed to have increased as well. He didn't feel the slightest bit of fatigue even after using 4 skills simultaneously. He never expected that sleeping in the isolation room would have such a miraculous effect. Looks like he'll have to spend more time in isolation from now on. Next, let's look at Kui Xingxi. A bun-sized lump swelled up on his face after taking Zhang Yuan's punch. He was now being helped, shakily walking toward Zhang Yuan and the others. You despicable villain. You launched a sneak attack before I was ready. You don't follow the rules of martial arts. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan asked Feng King, "Is it permissible to kill someone during an inter-school sparring match?" Feng King quickly stopped him. Of course not. And this guy was an intern in South Korea for 2.5 years. If he dies, it might cause an international issue. What a guy with no sense of honor. That doesn't count. Let's start over. Koi Sung-shi is still calling for a weapon, but the next second Jian Chanshu stops him. He walked up to Feng King. He asked him what the name of the student lying on the ground was. Feng King replied, "Zhang Yuan. A freshman. We didn't break the agreement." "Is he?" Feng King is confused. "Are you blind?" "Of course I am." Jiang Chenshuo, who had originally held onto a glimmer of hope, was suddenly struck by a thunderbolt. He's actually a boy. He's really a boy. No, wait. He just said that his sister was beaten by Koi Shengshi. It means that his sister is also a first-year student at Chenjing Academy, siblings in the same grade. And their hairstyles are a bit different. Could it be that the girl with long black hair and a soft look the other day was actually his twin sister? He immediately walked up to Zhang Yuan and gave him a very polite bow. "Hello, Zhang Yuan. My name is Jiang Chenshuo. I'm 18 years old. I'm 1.8 meters tall. I weigh 78 kilograms. I fell in love with your sister at first sight. I would like to start a relationship with your sister, with the intention of marriage." Hearing this, Feng King felt something was wrong. Is this guy out of his mind? He's staring to touch the tiger's backside. Zhang Yuan's face darkened. Well. Others might joke around fine, but you actually dare to take it seriously. His own sister is only 12 years old, and he proposes such a beastly request. He's a beast. This man absolutely cannot be spared. Seeing this, Kui Shingo, who was standing not far away, continued to shout, "You damn Jiang Xiao. No wonder you kept stopping me from going up. So you're in cahoots with them?" He then activated a unique skill from his country, simulating, "Zhang Yuan, is it? It was my carelessness just now. Now it's my turn to launch a surprise attack on you. I'm the chosen one with 3 abilities. Even if your punch just now was powerful, it wouldn't be able to activate more than 3 skills, right?" But he never expected that just now Zhang Yuan activated 4 skills. This already exceeded the maximum number of skills he could withstand. Sure enough, Koi Shingo's pupils suddenly contracted sharply. Then blood started flowing from all 7 orifices. With a loud thud, he collapsed. Did he think he still had a chance to strike? But this isn't a turn-based game. Just a second ago, the man was still wildly shouting. Who would have expected that the next moment, he'd be bleeding from all 7 orifices and unconscious? It turns out he just activated it. He can directly copy all the skills the opponent uses. The limit is the number of his own skills, but he never expected that the person in front of him, who looked so fragile, with long black straight hair, had just struck him in that instant. He activated 4 skills. Because the number of simulated skills exceeded his limit, he suffered backlash. The others quickly stepped forward to help him. "Feng King, what exactly did you do to the Victory Master? Why did he suddenly collapse and can't get up?" He just calmly said a single sentence. "It's none of my business. If I wanted to deal with him, I wouldn't need to ambush him." Jiang Shanshu, who was standing nearby, quickly scolded. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and take her to the infirmary." Feng King, seeing this, patted his shoulder. "I said, President Jing, how about you admit defeat on behalf of Huling Academy? I can consider helping you save him." Jiang Shansu was stunned. "Why should I concede? There were a total of 16 sparring matches. Our school won 15 of them," Feng said. "Bullshit. Whoever stands at the end is the winner." But they forgot that standing beside them at this moment, Zhang Yuan's face was becoming more and more unpleasant. "Enough? Changing the subject, huh? You think I'm easy to fool, huh? If you want to be with my sister, you'll have to go through me first." Terrifying aura instantly radiated from his body. The sudden pressure startled everyone. They jumped. At this moment, Feng King realized the situation was dire. "Damn it. Just now I was sidetracked by that idiot little Kimchi. I forgot to pee Zhang Yuan. The volcano is about to erupt. The world is about to end. I think I'll take my leave." Meanwhile, Jiang Shinsua remained utterly bewildered. What exactly had he done wrong? Why was Zhang Yuan so opposed to him being with his sister? Could it be that he felt unworthy of her? Feng King, who had slipped away, watched with glee. "Jiang Qiansu, you're just a nobody. If you manage to survive, I will call you the world's strongest scum. My father is the chairman of the Jiang Group, and I'm the top youth of Huo country, the #1 on the billionaire list, and one of the top 100 young billionaires in the world." At this moment, Zhang Yuan has already drawn his weapon. 6 flying. His face was grim and terrifying. "Even if you're the richest person in the world, it won't change the fact that you're a beast." The words had just left his mouth when he instantly threw the knives in his hand at Jiang Shansua with incredible speed. Crystal wall, rock, bronze, skin, iron, bones. Seeing this, Jiang Shinu quickly used various defensive skill. Just as the flying knife was about to pierce him, he hurriedly activated his magnetic power, only then stopping the flying knife, which was only 5 centimeters from him. in mid-air. He couldn't understand what exactly he had said wrong. Why did Zhang Yuan attack him with such a powerful move right away, launching a killing blow? In just a moment, Zhang Yuan flashed before him. What are you stunned about? Immediately following with a hook punch, delivered with full force aimed straight at his face. There was a loud dang sound. Zhang Chanshu was sent flying for dozens of meters. Zhang Yuan was somewhat stunned. What exactly is this guy? It feels like hitting a turtle shell. A loud thud echoed. At the same time, the students from Huling Academy present were all shocked by the scene that had just occurred. Zhang Chanshu is not only the president of the school's student council, but also ranks among the top 100 on the youth rankings. Moreover, he specializes in defensive skills. Most low-level cultivators would struggle to even scratch him, even if they gave it their all. But this first-year student in front of him only needed a simple punch to send him flying several dozen meters. Simply unbelievable. He quickly called for the guard team to come and help. At this moment, Zhang Chanshu's face had already swollen to a pig's head. Cold sweat kept pouring down his face. He didn't expect Zhang Yuan's strength to be so formidable. If it weren't for the protective skill earlier, that punch would have, I guess I'm doomed. Why is that? Why are you stopping me from pursuing your sister? At this moment, Zhang Yuan's face was filled with murderous intent. My sister is only 12 years old. What do you mean by that? Zhang Tian, who was shocked. What about that girl with long, black, straight hair? She doesn't look just 12, does she? Could it be that I bumped into Zhang Yuan himself that day around the corner? Could it be Zhang Yuan himself? And Zhang Otherwise, it was just an accidental bump, wasn't it? You're still holding a grudge about it. How dare you have designs on my sister? If you don't want to live, just say so. Zhang Chanshu was instantly petrified. He never expected that the pure, delicate, long black hair girl he had been thinking about day and night was actually the very person in front of him, Zhang Yuan, who was about to kill him. The last shred of hope in his heart shattered. Let it all be destroyed. This cruel reality. Living no longer has any meaning. Suddenly, Zhang Yuan pulls out a throwing knife. The sharp blade gleams with an eerie cold light. There's nothing left to say now, right? Then, before the words finished, a sound suddenly came from a distance. Young hero. Spare him. It turned out to be reinforcements called by Huling Academy. Meanwhile, Zhang Yuan only slightly turned his head, giving them a sharp look. Just how terrifying is a brother who's obsessed with his sister? How terrifying. The man simply said he liked his sister. He almost got beaten to death. Zhang Yuan pulled out a throwing knife, its cold gleam chilling. He was about to execute Jian Shinsu on the spot, when a voice suddenly came from afar. Hold it, so it's the Huling Academy security team. As they approached, they immediately launched a control skill against Zhang Yuan. The originally hard and flat ground instantly transformed into a muddy swamp. Zhang Yuan jumped up and easily avoided it. Seeing this, the security team was somewhat surprised. The target had already escaped the swamp's range. Why hasn't the mental realm cage been released? The guard said it has been activated, but it had no effect on Zhang Yuan. The medical guard saw Zhang Chanshu gradually sinking deeper into the mire. They quickly activated life-sharing with him. Zhang Yuan immediately used frozen ice to firmly freeze Zhang Chanshu into the ground. Stuck in the ground, head down. I guess I'll be dead in a few minutes, as long as those guards don't get in the way. Then I threw a knife towards the guards. It hit the guard precisely on the floor. Close call. If it had been half a second earlier, their bodies, I'd definitely be pierced by the flying knife. Zhang Yuan's usually cold face showed no expression at all. I don't like killing innocents, so please don't act rashly. The guards present were all shocked by Zhang Yuan's strength. He's truly too strong. Even if the four of them teamed up, they would still be no match for this person. If he is determined to put Zhang Chanshu to death, no matter how they try to intercept, it will be useless. In fact, they might end up losing their own lives in the process. At this moment, the medical department's Chen Jun is still sharing his life with Zhang Chanshu. The teammates beside him repeatedly advised him to disconnect quickly. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would be killed as well. Don't lose your life over this. Didn't you say you wanted to join the Nighthawk team? But Chen Jun's eyes were determined. If I can't even save one student, what right do I have to join the Nighthawk team? Zhang Yuan, standing not far away, felt that the scene in front of him seemed familiar. It was like he had seen it somewhere before. It turned out that the person in front of him was actually a teammate from the medical team in his past life. Back then, he had fought alongside the alien race until the very last second without ever retreating. To throw away such a good practitioner for a scumbag, it's really not worth dragging him to death. So he took action and lifted the freezing. This scum's life is left for now. I'll come back for it next time. He then turned and left. The guards were confused. Why did he leave? Should we chase after him? Still chasing a potato? Do you think your life is too long? Saving people is more important. Zhang Yuan had just left the school gate. Feng Qing, sitting at the corner not far away, spoke up to tease him. I thought Zhang Chanshu was definitely going to die today. I really didn't expect you to make it at the last moment. He actually showed mercy. Zhang Yuan then said he was just tired. He was too lazy to continue fighting. But no one, not even a ghost, believed him. Feng Qing continued, because someone from the medical department used life sharing on it. You didn't want to hurt innocent people, right? Zhang Yuan stopped paying attention. He took out his phone to call a taxi. But he realized there was no signal here. Feng Qing, join the East City night running team with me. Feng Qing's body stiffened at the words. Night running? Big brother. Do you know how far it is from here to Chenjing College? How far is... But Zhang Yuan simply gestured casually. It's only a mere 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers? If you want to run yourself? I'm not running anyway. I'll just call someone using the satellite phone. Soon after, they were sitting in the car on their way back. But the atmosphere was a bit awkward. The driver was a good-looking older sister. She had clearly come specifically to pick them up, but she hadn't said a word the entire way. Feng Qing, who had been brought along, also seemed uninterested in chatting with her. Could it be because there was someone else in the car at the time? It looked like a light bulb. Big sister seemed to have heard Zhang Yuan's thoughts. She turned her head and gave him a speechless look. After arriving at school, she didn't linger. She dropped him off and drove away. Zhang Yuan said jokingly, I really didn't expect that. I can't believe you have a rich woman backing you. Feng Qing quickly explained. It's not what you think. She's not a rich woman. She's just a friend of my mom. You didn't fall for her, did you? Zhang Yuan was speechless. Nada. Then he said it was getting late, and that he had to go back to sleep. After saying that, he turned to leave. Feng Qing quickly stopped him. You poor directions. Your dorm is this way. That way's the isolation room. You're going the wrong way. But who could have guessed that Zhang Yuan would say he was going to the isolation cell? As soon as he said this, Feng Qing was left with a bunch of question marks in his mind. He really couldn't understand what Zhang Yuan was up to again. What kind of crazy thing was he planning? The man had an 800 square meter villa but chose not to live in it, and instead decided to go to a prison cell meant for holding criminals. Zhang Yuan looked at the person who had come with him to the isolation cell. Feng Qing expressed speechlessness. I said, President Feng, I came here to sleep. Why did you come along? With eyes glowing blue like two nightlights? He looked just like a nightlight. Feng Qing explained, it's just in case. What if Zhang Yuan falls asleep, becomes like a corpse, unresponsive to any calls? That would be troublesome. Why don't you give your sister Zhong Lan a heads up first? Hearing this, Zhang Yuan sat up abruptly. It's already past 1 a.m. She's already asleep. And I don't think she wants to see me these past couple of days. Because my sister has always been very competitive. Every time she loses a competition, she would go hide and cry by herself. She wouldn't let me see her, looking so unwilling to accept it. Then Zhang Yuanjia thought of Hong Qing and the special training she gave her. His gaze sharply indicated that his sister secretly went to him for special training. He wouldn't interfere with this matter, but it's best not to teach her anything weird. Otherwise, Feng Qing immediately felt a chill on his back. Don't worry, I still have some principles. Besides, with an older brother like you, I wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Zhang Yuan finally felt relieved. He then laid back against the chair. Let's do an experiment first with sleeping. I'll take a 5-minute nap. You try to wake me up? Feng Qing looked at Zhang Yuan, who had fallen asleep instantly, speechless. It seems tonight's battle really left him quite exhausted. He then waited quietly beside him. After a few minutes, he started using the same trick again. Zhang Yuan, your sister was beaten up by people from Holing Academy, but Zhang Yuan on the bed remained motionless. This move actually didn't work. Looking at Zhang Yuan lying there like a dead person, Feng Qing started to panic. Zhang Chanshu took your sister away. Yuan, I was beaten by people from Holing Academy. Wake quickly. Lin Dongliang is calling your sister to absorb the Ru Jing. Yuan, wake up quickly. Lan is gonna elope with me. But no matter what he tried, Zhang Yuan still didn't move at all. It's really strange. This method actually doesn't work. Could it be that even though he's asleep, can you also tell if something is true or false? No. We have to find a way to help him. He is an outsider. I'm also an outsider. It's not easy to find someone like him. I can't let anything happen to him. At the same time, in a top private hospital in China, Cao Paokai, the victory master, is lying in the medical room with an oxygen mask. Outside the isolation glass, the doctor is apologizing to a middle-aged woman. Mom, we're truly sorry. We've done everything we could, but the young master has not yet regained consciousness. It's highly likely he's been hit by a ruin-capable person's mental attack. We can't undo it. Hearing this, the woman's face turned serious. Her son is her trump card in controlling the Kui family. Absolutely nothing can happen to him. Those two good-for-nothing medical personnel from South Korea are utterly useless at a critical moment. I was just thinking when suddenly it hit me. That's right. China's an agency that specifically controls criminal psychics, the Psychic Regulation Bureau. I can use the name of the kimchi country to pressure them. Make them find the best psychic from China to save the person. He then strode out of the hospital. At that moment in the Chenjing College girls' dormitory, Jiang Xiwen's phone suddenly rang. She's still busy at her computer, picked up the phone and said rather angrily, "Little brother, don't you know what time it is? Call me now." Could she have been picked up drunk? Right? The girl you asked me to help you find last time. The one with long, straight black hair. I went through the files of every female student in the entire school, but I couldn't find her. But Jiang Chansu on the other end of the phone just held his bandaged forehead and indicated, "No need to look anymore. He already knows who it is." Jiang San was confused. She hacked into the school's database, searched several times but couldn't find the person who had captivated her brother. Who exactly was that person? Jiang Chanshu explained with a sad expression. That person's name is Zhong Yuan. He's an audit student in the special class. This name sounds familiar. That's right. Isn't that the guy who helped the campus belle Su Wenying the other day with the school disciplinary officer? So they hacked into the school database again and retrieved Zhong Yuan's information. From the photo, he looks like a boy. Could it be that my younger brother actually likes boys? My Fujoshi soul burns again. Then she put Zhong Yuan's photo into the software. After adding long hair, she realized, no wonder he could charm my younger brother so much. This pure delicate long black straight hair? Who wouldn't be confused after seeing this? He sent the photo to Jing Meihu to confirm. But as soon as he opened the photo, Jiang Chanzu's face instantly flushed. It's him. Calm down. What am I even thinking? This is a guy, damn it. But this photo is just too good looking. Let me set it as a screensaver. Just consider it fangirling. Yes, that's right. It's fangirling. Then he asked his older sister, are there any other photos? Who would have thought that Jiang Xiwen would ask for such a high price? 500 million. Cash run. No credit 100 bills? And Jiang Chanshu with his wealth and power was also generous. He immediately transferred the money to him. 5 million, 60 million. 5 billion, let's start with 100 bills. This man can only wake up when he falls asleep. Even if there's a battle happening right next to his ear, it can't wake him. But once he hears his sister's voice, he'll immediately get up. In the girls' dormitory in the morning, sunlight gently falls on Zhonglan's bedside, accompanied by the sound of the alarm. She wakes up from her dream. After yawning and stretching, she almost died of fright at her reflection in the mirror. Because she lost the martial arts competition, she cried for half a day. Her big expressive eyes were swollen like a goldfish's. Now she couldn't go out and see anyone. Suddenly her phone beside her rang. It was a call from Feng Qing, the student council president. Zhonglan made a mistake. She called her early in the morning. Could it be that something happened to her brother? After the call was connected, she quickly asked. Feng Qing explained. Her brother is fine. He just had a mild allergic reaction after getting the rabies vaccine. He needs to stay in the hospital for a few days for observation. 12-year-old Zhonglan was full of questions after hearing that. What's an allergy? Is it serious? Feng Qing continued to explain. You'll learn about that in a couple of years. Anyway, your brother is fine. He's just sleeping very soundly right now. He won't wake up no matter how much you call him. Zhonglan. That her brother has always been like this. Once he falls asleep, it's hard to wake him up. But how could she know? That last night Feng Qing tried everything he had learned in his lifetime to wake Zhong Yuan up, yet he still lay there stiff as a board, not even twitching a bit. So he suggested letting Zhonglan give it a try. Let her call Zhong Yuan like she would at home and see. Brother. Get up. The sun is shining on your butt. Get up and make me breakfast. To his surprise, this trick actually worked. Hearing this, Zhong Yuan immediately opened his eyes. He groggily asked about breakfast. What do you want to eat? He immediately got up to prepare it. On the other end of the line, Zhonglan heard her brother, waking up, his face full of happiness. Silly brother. You're still half asleep. I'm still lying in the hospital. How are you going to make breakfast for me? Go rest. Also, the next couple of days, brother will handle things on his own. Don't worry about her. He made plans to eat with his roommate. After hanging up phone 721, Zhong Yuangui called Feng Qing late at night. He also called his sister. He had only been fat for a few minutes. Feng Qing didn't explain much. He handed over the phone for him to see for himself. Zhong Yuan looked at the time and his face was full of disbelief. How is this possible? He clearly felt he had only slept for 1 or 2 minutes. How could it be morning already? Feng Qing adjusted his glasses with an expression as if he saw through everything. Maybe your sense of time is different from others. I'll edit the recording of the phone call just now and send it to you as an alarm. Unexpectedly, in the next second, Yuan actually lay back down in bed. The alarm is... I'll just take a quick nap first. In case the alarm doesn't work later, you can think of another solution. Then they drifted back to sleep, leaving Feng Qing alone, feeling anxious and restless. Meanwhile, in the commander's office, Director Wang Padi of the Bureau of Markets and the commander and Ganfeng were sitting face to face. Wang Padi spoke. Commander, you haven't fallen for Zhong Yuan's cuteness act, have you? As soon as he said this, and Guanfeng nearly choked on a sip of water. Then he couldn't stop laughing. But Wang Padi had a worried look on his face. Stop laughing. I'm serious. Zhang Yuan's file issue really kept me up all night. That little Kimchi from Samita country got beaten by Zhang Yuan. Even his mother went to the district office about it. They keep finding new ways to pressure us. When the people at the bureau saw Zhang Yuan's file, wow, top secret clearance. Even I, the bureau chief, don't have the authority to access it. I finally managed to see it through connections, only to discover he'd actually acquired the being cute skill. Commander Anne, don't tell me. You don't know that it's forbidden to hunt the cute bear, and you also know how low the success rate is for absorbing the cute skill. The fact that Zhang Yuan has the cute skill is already very suspicious. But Nguanfeng just casually said, I know all of this. The conclusion is fine. But it's only, compared to this small matter, when Zhang Yuan fought with Shangguan I, the ability similar to Ghost King's reversal, a tenfold return ability, is what really deserves attention. Then his expression instantly became serious. Zhang Yuan's strength is far beyond what I saw in his file. It's not that simple. I've already made up my mind. I'll recommend him to Jutsu. So I hope Director Wang will support me. Please don't add any blemishes to his personal record. Absolutely not. The small Kimchi country Chaebol dared to verbally challenge a great power, but the next second, they were slapped in the face. Inside a top-tier private hospital in China, the Chaebol's mother wept uncontrollably. Her attendants quickly comforted her. Madam, we've already lodged a protest with China. Wait until they're at work tomorrow. They'll definitely give you a satisfactory answer. But the woman sharply shouted, You don't know anything. It has to be today. China's Wari only guarantees 24 hours. If it exceeds the time limit, even if Hua-Tu were alive, he would be powerless to save the situation. At this moment, the door to the hospital room opened. Two people with firm steps walked in. The subordinate asked, Who are they? The slightly shorter person introduced, They are from the Hogo military district. The person next to me is Commander Nguanfeng. I heard that a friend from Kimchi country was injured. Kim expressed my condolences. The woman was extremely moved upon hearing this. She was surprised that even the commander came in person. It seems that her protest with the conglomerate was effective. She immediately began explaining the condition of the unconscious young Kimchi, lying bed. And according to Taki's request, Nguanfeng immediately, they arranged for Sukian to come and treat her. But Nguanfeng wasn't in a hurry to reply. He activated his insight skill to observe. After a moment he asked the woman about Xiao Pati. How many abilities does she possess? The woman proudly answered 3. One of them is a skill unique to your country. It's the simulation ability, right? The child was backlashed by the simulated skill. He only has 3 abilities, but he used simulation on someone who possesses more than that number. His brain suffered continuous damage from the ruin energy. That's why he's like this now. Upon hearing this, the woman suddenly knelt down. Commander, and please arrange for Hugh to come and rescue him immediately, no matter how much it costs. But Nguanfeng wouldn't agree. It's not a matter of money. You should have seen the surveillance footage of their match. Kai Shingshi had already lost, but he still wanted to use a simulation skill. Yet he tried to use a simulation skill. He attempted a sneak attack, but it ended up backfiring horribly. Those who do evil will ultimately bring about their own downfall. He deserved this. Our country is not responsible. Upon hearing this, the woman was filled with rage. Not responsible? Do you even know? He's backed by the powerful Choi family conglomerate of Simita, a conglomerate that controls everything. You can't afford to offend them. But at this moment in Nguanfeng's heart is calm and unaffected. Do you know who's backing Zhang Yuan? The woman looked confused and said she didn't know. Then Nguanfeng was about to turn and leave. A domineering response before leaving. Behind Zhang Yuan is the entire Hogo. After saying this, he walked straight out, leaving the little pickled vegetables and others stunned, frozen place at a loss. In the elevator, and Gan, this little brat is easy to handle. Zhang Tianxue is the real trouble. The attendant looks confused. Didn't Zhang Shenshue say he wouldn't pursue it? And Ganfeng it. That's where the trouble lies. The Jiang kid said he likes Zhang Yuan's sister. Now his attitude clearly shows he doesn't want to give up on pursuing her. Right? Adjutant? Go buy a book on punishment later. Give him a good thrashing. Physical or mental. Both. The next morning, Zhang Yuan, his sister, and Feng Qing were on their way to the dining hall. Lanlin, you're still growing. You should sleep in more in the mornings. The kitchen in my dorm will be finished tomorrow. From now on, I'll just make breakfast and bring it to you. But Zhang Lan shook her head in refusal. Zhang Yuan wondered, could it be that his sister disliked his breakfast? Zhang Lan quickly explained, that's not it. Brother's breakfast is the best. But if brother wakes up that early every day to make breakfast for himself, he'll get really tired. Also, the school cafeteria has a variety of breakfast options, tasty. She also wants to take her brother to taste it. At this moment, Zhang Yuan, although he has lost his sense of taste, a hint of sweetness rises in his heart. He lovingly strokes his sister's little head. Suddenly, Not far away, someone is running toward them at full speed, holding a steaming basket in hand. This person is no other than Shang Wenyi, who had just experienced the pain of losing his arm. After seeing the newcomer's face, Zhang Yun became alert. Could Shang Wenyi be planning to use a fire-based ranged attack on them? He immediately assumed a defensive stance and protected his sister behind him. But unexpectedly, when he came before me, he suddenly knelt down with a thud. Then, with utmost respect, he opened the steamer basket in his hand. Your Xia Long Bao? Woof woof. Zhang Lan, bewildered, was shocked. Oh my. There was actually a strange person at the cafeteria entrance, proposing to my brother with a large dumpling. Feng Qing beside him quickly explained, Xiao Lanlin, that's your dog. If you hadn't spoken up, he would have already been a crippled dog. He's the arrogant and domineering young master at school, but I'm willing to give it to an auditor.